Today, the Michigan Football Network has moved its microphones to one of the hottest hotbeds of intercollegiate football in the country, Columbus, Ohio. There's no town like it in the United States right now, where this afternoon we bring you the 8th chapter of that football fantasy called The Tale of Two Cities, featuring two of the greatest coaches in the country, Big Bo and Little Woody, as they meet their date with destiny in front of 60 million on television, 88,000 here in the Buckeye Stadium, along with you and me. Yes, sir, 3 short hours from now, it'll be the heights of ecstasy or the depths of despair for Ann Arbor, Michigan, and/or Columbus, Ohio. All the excitement, color, pressure, anxiety, and charisma that surrounds big-time college football has been building up all week in both the Wolverine and Buckeye camps, and it'll all reach a glorious climax in just about 20 minutes. And then, football fans across the state of Michigan, it'll be 60 minutes of big-time Big Ten football and a lifetime to remember. And so what else is new? That's been the story of Michigan-Ohio State football for years, but especially since old General Bo and Dr. Strangehays have gotten it together beginning back in 1969. Now, taking a quick look at the facts. But no, doggone it, you know all the facts about these two teams. You've been reading and hearing about them all week long. And we all know that football is a game of emotions. So let's take a look at the emotional side of this ball game for both teams. First of all, Michigan has not been to the Pasadena Classic or the Rose Bowl in 5 years. Ohio State has been there every January 1st for the past 4 years. That's got to be a big psychological edge for the Wolverines. Number 2, Ohio State has already wrapped up at least a tie for the Big Ten championship in 1976, while Michigan will be going after their 27th Big Ten title. Again, that's got to be an emotional edge for the Wolverines. Michigan under Bo has never defeated Ohio State here in Columbus, while Woody edged Bo for the first time up in Ann Arbor a year ago today. Now, that's got to be about 50-50 emotional-wise. But the biggest emotional plus for the Wolverines today involves the players themselves. And you ask Bob Ufer, are the Michigan players ready? Well, let me take you back 4 years in time. The scene is Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan, the night of the annual Michigan football bust, 9 days after Michigan's heartbreaking 14-11 loss to the Buckeyes right here on this tartan surface in 1972. At this Michigan banquet every year, each Wolverine senior is presented with his coveted Michigan football ring, and they thank the U of M Club of Detroit for this ring, and they reflect on their careers at Michigan. The next voice you will hear will be that of Dave Zuccarelli on December 4th of 1972, following the tragic death of his father that fall, and his feelings about Michigan football game here at Columbus 9 days before.
We waited 5 years to introduce this man to you in appreciation for all that he's done for me. He's been waiting to attend this banquet for all those 5 years. He's been behind me through the good and the bad, never doubting my decisions, always giving me a helpful word of advice and encouragement. If I had to pick a man to grow up like, I picked this man. A man well-liked and respected by all those who knew him. I can only introduce this man to you by his name, Frank Zuccarelli, my dad. My dad was killed in a tragic train wreck in Chicago this fall. I love my dad, and I thank him for everything. I have a lot to cry about this year, and the loss at Columbus was the worst and most bitter moment in my entire athletic career. But I will be consoled. Michigan Stadium, November 23rd, 1973, Michigan versus Ohio State. I'll be there.
And Dave Zuccarelli, along with the Michigan seniors of 1972, were not consoled in November of 73, even though Michigan again outplayed the Buckeyes 45 minutes out of 60, but they had to accept a 10-10 tie, and to add insult to injury, Michigan lost the infamous Rose Bowl vote in 1973. And then 1 year later, the seniors of Michigan in 1974 were not consoled either, as they too had to swallow a bitter pill of defeat as they kept Ohio State out of the end zone here at Columbus all afternoon and had to digest 4 field goals in the final 17 seconds. They missed a chip shot from the 23-yard line on a field goal attempt, and Michigan lost that heartbreaker 12-10. And then the seniors of last year at Michigan, 1975, once again outplayed Ohio State decisively. In fact, the Buckeyes did not pick up a first down for 38 minutes during that game, from near the end of the first quarter until 7 minutes to play in the ball game, at which time Michigan took a 14-7 lead, and it seemed impossible for Ohio State to win last year's game up there in Ann Arbor, and yet 7 minutes later, the Wolverines were dealt a 21-14 defeat. So Dave Zuccarelli, along with 96 other seniors, and their teammates over the last 4 years at Michigan have been waiting to be consoled, and that's what Michigan is playing for here this afternoon, along with pride, personal pride, team pride. And all of this is going to transpire in weather that's absolutely perfect here in Columbus. There is a clear blue sky. It's an ideal 40 degrees. You can hear the voice of Ohio State football in the background as their band takes the field. The stage is set for the Michigan-Ohio State confrontation for 1976. Michigan is 139. Ohio State is 128. 5 games have ended in a tie. And right now, Ufer's got to get down to that Michigan locker room down in the bowels of this Ohio State stadium for our final pregame chat with old General Bo right after this final pregame message. Over this, the Michigan, very determined, championship-bound football network.
Just the ideal kind of guy for a Woody Hayes attack. Powerful, bruising, knocking people over as he goes, and Michigan well remembers him. And when they get down close, the Buckeyes point with pride to the fact that you simply cannot stop Pete Johnson. As far as overall speed is concerned, Jeff Logan is the man who turns it on. He's just a junior. His father played for Ohio State 25 years ago, so he follows in the tradition of that family. Logan has the breakaway speed. Joe Paterno said he's one of the finest breakaway runners that Penn State had seen all year long. Look how quickly he gets into the open and goes to the outside. Michigan definitely will have to stop Logan here today. But the quarterback has been the story of the Buckeyes so far this year. In the first quarter against Purdue, that was a month ago, Rod Gerald, the starting quarterback, was hurt out for the season. A senior was brought in. His name, Jim Pacetta. Jim, not quite the runner that Gerald...
Bob Ufer here in the Michigan locker room down in the foreboding confines of the Ohio State Stadium with the old general himself for the last time in 1976. And, Bo, this is it. This is what college football is all about. 2 old rivals battling for the Big Ten championship. 2 great teams, 2 of the finest coaches in the country, 60 million people on TV, 88,000 screaming maniacs out there right now, all set to go. Both teams psyched sky high. Bo, I don't have to ask you if you're ready or not.
Well, I guess you've already taken care of that, Bob. I guess all teams are ready for this one, and I'm sure we are. And it should be a great game, as all of them have been in the past.
Bo, last week you talked about pride going out against the Illini. It wasn't for the Big Ten championship. It wasn't looking ahead to Ohio State. You had to be satisfied with your team's performance.
They played well and enthusiastic football, and I thought we did an excellent job both offensively and defensively, and it was important to us after coming off the Purdue loss, and I thought the team did a good job, and I think that's going to help us today.
Bo, what about your champions a week ago?
Well, last week we had a great effort out of all of our players, really. And to me, Leach played an exceptionally fine game. So did Lytle. I thought our offensive line blocked in there well. But Jim Smith was our champion on the basis of 6 receptions for well over 100 yards and an excellent all-around game. We thought he was really outstanding. Jimmy Pickens defensively in our secondary was our champion on the basis of having played a strong game in that game. And as a matter of fact, has had a good year right on through. Defensively, other guys, Mo Morton was great in there. Of course, he was our leading tackler and made a lot of plays. But I thought Pickens and Jimmy Smith were the really outstanding guys.
Bro, it had to make you feel good to see Kirk Lewis back in there.
Well, he was our hustler because any guy's battled for 2 years for an opportunity to play. That's the first game that he's really hadn't felt good and played well, and it's too bad things have happened the way they are, but he's so tickled about playing now, and he'll definitely play today against Ohio State.
The aches and pains and bruises after last year are gone.
Right, he's not used to it, but actually he came out of it in a lot better shape than we thought he would. He wasn't stiff and sore like we thought he'd be, and so he'll be ready.
Well, when you always talk about the success of any Schembechler team, you always mention the senior leadership. Now, it goes without saying, Lytle and Calvin O'Neill have been phenomenal. How about the rest of your seniors?
Well, of course, Lewis has stayed right in there with us. during his ordeal. And you can't underestimate what Jimmy Smith has done for us. He's been outstanding, and Mo Morton and John Hennessy's had an excellent year, and Bobby Lang and Jimmy Bolden and Jerry Zuver. Zuver's been
he's filled in for Dubek admirably.
He's done a great job, and here's Jerry Vogley in his senior year playing a lot of football and doing a heck of a job. They've all done a fine job. This has been a good team and a good team to coach, and I thought our seniors have had a real good year.
You've had a great esprit de corps among the coaches and in relation to the team in itself this year, haven't you?
Well, it's always been that way here. I mean, it seems like there's always been a closeness there, and it's not so much a great cleavage between player and coach. I mean, we've all been pretty close, and of course, it's a disciplined squad, as all of them have been, but I think that this has been an exceptionally fine group.
Well, let's get down to this ball game coming up in just a few minutes here against the Buckeyes. How would you rate this Ohio State team with some of the other Buckeye teams you've faced over the last, say, 4 or 5 years?
As good or better defensively, and about equal offensively. I think it's outstanding in every regard. I mean, it's not a weak football team, and I suppose they can probably say the same thing about us. But they're a little stronger defensively than they are offensively. They probably look at us and say we're a little stronger offensively than we are defensively, so it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
How do they hurt you offensively, Bo?
Well, it's, they have the big fullback, and they have a fine tailback, and they mix up their passing a little bit with Pacenta now, and they still run some option football, and they have a very strong blocking line.
And, Bo, who would you say are the key Buckeye players that the fans should look for or listen for here this afternoon?
Well, let's look for the Michigan players. Not worried about those Ohio players, but, their backs are good, and I would say that would be the key thing offensively. And defensively, they've got their front seven, I think, are about as good as we've ever played.
They've got about 6 or 7 men slated for pro football defensively, I understand.
Well, I would say that's pretty much true, and that's particularly true up front. And, of course, their safety man is an excellent player, but I think he's an underclassman, so he'll be back another year. But basically, the strength of that defense is right up front.
Bo, you made a statement this week at your Monday press meeting that I thought was very significant. Someone said, Bo, will you get all psyched up for this game this week? And you answered, I hope not, because when the coach gets too uptight, the players will respond accordingly. And I think that's a very true and interesting statement.
Well, I think, you can get up as high as you want to get as a coach, because I get up pretty much for these games, but I think once the game's underway, you got to be pretty cool-headed and know what you're doing, because whether people realize it or not, there are a lot of decisions that are made during the course of the game.
Second, no Monday morning quarterback.
And you see, you don't have an awful lot of time. As a matter of fact, when you stop to think that from the time that one play is run or one defense has been run, by the time the next one is you have to get your down distance, what to expect from the other opponent, and try to figure back and forth. You have to have all that done because that ball's probably snapped somewhere between 20 to 25 seconds.
And you send your plays in accordingly. And
well,
sure.
We give them a base to operate out of. I mean, there's a lot of things. There are a lot of decisions made out on the field, though, Bob. It isn't. You can't make them on the sideline anymore. And so it's
that's why that quarterback has to be so important.
Quarterback and your defensive captain as well. He's got to be sharp, knowing what's going on there, because he's going to have to change defenses at the line.
Well, I see the officials are kind of signaling. As a matter of fact, I don't think a lot of the fans realize that you're going to flip a coin before you go out in the field, before the captains go out. This is just a new innovation, isn't it?
105. Of course, it'll be earlier now with TV game, but usually about 25 minutes before the game. It's a good deal to know whether you're kicking off or receiving, but I don't like to choose my goal if if I lose the toss and they have the football, because the wind changes so much. Sometimes
it can change in that.
It can change during the 25-minute period, and you're left with neither the ball nor the wind. So
they just go out there and flip the coin for the consumption of the public, really, right?
It's
window dressing.
I tell you this, but it's a fake.
Okay. Well, Bo, I got a good omen for you. The only other year in your 8 years at Michigan that you went into the final game against Ohio State that you were not undefeated was 7 years ago in 1969. You'd lost 2 ball games that year, remember? And then you really upset those national defending champion Buckeyes. Every year since then, Bo, 6 straight years, you've gone into this game against Ohio State without a defeat until this year again. Maybe that's an omen.
Well, we hope so. At least we know we have to win this game, Bob, and the squad is up for it, and everybody's up for it, and it's going to be a great classic, as they all are. And my big hope, of course, I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I just want our team to play as hard as they possibly can, which they've always done. And if they do that, things will come out all right.
And that gets us into our incentives. Every week at this time, Bo, we talk about a team having incentives. I don't know of any team in the last 37 years here at Michigan that I've covered Wolverine football that has had more incentives than your Wolverines have right now. First of all, they'll be battling to avenge 96 seniors at Michigan over the past 4 years who have fought their hearts out, won every statistic except the one that counts, and have suffered for 4 straight years that magnified despair of defeat. Nobody on this team has ever been to the Rose Bowl. That's got to be a big incentive. Knowing your players and how they feel about you, Bo, I know they want to give their coach his 6th Big Ten championship in 8 seasons at Michigan. They want to make it 76 wins against only 10 losses for Bo Schembechler in 8 years as a head man at the Wolverine school. And, Bo, they've already kept intact the fact that only 3 schools have ever beaten you in your 8 seasons as head coach at Michigan, and have already locked up for another year the fact that outside of that nightmare at Purdue 2 weeks ago, you've only lost to one other school in the country in your last 81 regular season games. And now, Bo Schembechler, one final question. 7 years ago at this point in time, before the big Ohio State game in 1969, you told your Michigan team you can beat Ohio. You are prepared to beat Ohio, and damn it, you will beat Ohio. And, Bo, you pulled one of the biggest upsets in the history of football. Is your team as ready today as they were then?
This team's as ready as any team that we've had, Bob. But I've got to say this, although the 69 team was really jacked for the game, they were fortunate enough to win. We've had some great efforts and some great hustling football teams that haven't quite come out on the top end of the score. We have never had a Michigan football team in this game not play a great game, and I don't think we will today.
And that was the old general himself, Bo George Patton Schembechler. And now will we get back to the press box and get set for the game that at this particular point in time will be the biggest Michigan-Ohio State football game in history.
The future of 1976 is right in this old Horseshoe Stadium. And here they are, the visiting team.
What a beautiful setting for this ball game. Michigan team is just coming on the field. We just had the bands put on a wonderful performance. Michigan, the host school, was first, and certainly our band performed well. Then one of the fine things in college athletics as far as bands are concerned, the Ohio band came on the field. The student body rose to the occasion, and they formed the Ohio script, which I think is one of the more intricate moves, which finishes out spelling the state of Ohio. Numbers-wise, we're just a little bit outnumbered. Our fans start to cheer a little bit. I think we have approximately 4,000 Michigan fans here with 80,000 Ohio State fans. The setting is great. It's a beautiful day for the ball game. I'm brought back to a few memories that I have in the past of playing in this stadium. 1942, we played down here. We're beaten 21-7. One of the unusual things about that ball game, and the thing that I remember well, we were driving for a touchdown, which Bob Chappie has hit Bob Weezy just about at the goal line, and a fellow named Seringhouse came out and decked him, stopped us from scoring, and we ended up second best in that game, 21-7. As I said, one of the unusual things about that year was the fact that we did not play Ohio last. We were scheduled to play Iowa, and I remember our coach Fritz Chrysler saying, fellas, this is a game that you can remember all winter long, and we proceeded to bounce back and beat Iowa that year. The next year we played them in Ann Arbor. I don't remember the exact score, but it was something like 40-6, in which they were depleted in the ranks, and we had a fine team and ended up winning the Big Ten. I do remember my senior year, 1944, in which we lost 18-14, and as that ball game went, Ohio scored first. We scored, kicked the extra point, led 7-6. They scored to go ahead 12-7, missed the extra point. We kicked it. We scored and went ahead. I even remember the play, 5:32 slash. Went ahead 18-14, 14-12. They bounced back and ended up beating us on a controversial onside kick. Now as I look around and the booth opens up, and here comes huffing and puffing Bob Ufer.
Thank you, Donald. Well, football fans, we see the two teams are down there on this tartan turf. Oh, gosh, can't you just feel the anxiety emanating from this snake pit down here? It's colored with a haze of maize and blue and scarlet and gray, and the big eye is going to introduce the starting 11 for Ohio State, and it'll be defensively speaking for Michigan, it'll be Moeller's Monsters being introduced. Meanwhile, you know, when they talk about football, this is really one football game when you can throw away that record book. We said that in our opening remarks because it's probably one of the most glaring examples of football being a game of emotions when Michigan and Ohio State get together, because not only are two of the oldest rivals in the Big Ten, the Wolverines and the Buckeyes, battling for the 73rd time in history, but it's a meeting of two men, Woody and Bo, who have been associated in football in just about every way possible. First of all, Woody Hayes was Bo's coach at Miami of Ohio back in 1948, 49, and 50, and Bo respected Woody as well he might as a great football coach. And then Bo was Woody's assistant here, and a graduate assistant in 51, and then he came back in 1968 and was an assistant headline coach for 5 years until 1962, and then, of course, Bo went on over to Miami of Ohio, and there is where Don Cannon plucked him off that Ohio campus down there at Miami and brought him up to Michigan to start the 1969 season. Woody and Bo have been going each other as rival head coaches for two of the most oriented football schools in the country, Michigan and Ohio State, and that's what I mean by two old rivals, two men who really respect each other as great football minds, but today they ask no quarter, and they're going to give no quarter. You know, Ohio State has not only wrapped up their 5th consecutive Big Ten championship, but do you realize Ohio State is going after their 18th consecutive Big Ten victory, which will be a new all-time record? The old record was held by Ohio State and Michigan, Fritz Kreisler's Mad Magicians and Benny Osterbahn's. Those two national championship teams in 1947 and 48 won 17 in a row in the Big Ten, and Ohio State's team with Rex Kearns, you remember, with Stillwagon and Tatum and that company back in 68, 9, and 70, won 17 in a row. And the Buckeyes are also trying to keep from being shut out, and it'll be the 123rd game in a row that Ohio State has not been shut out. Now, the record, the NCAA record, is held by the Oklahoma team under Bud Wilkinson, and that was set back in 1954 to 57 at 123 games without being shut out. And Ohio State, if Michigan can shut them out today, cannot tie Oklahoma's record. Well, Michigan is going after 18 points in their last two ball games because they want to become the highest scoring team in the history of the Big Ten, which of course includes Michigan. Because right now the record is held by Bo Schembechler's team in 1971. You remember that all wins and no losses, no ties during the regular 11-game season with 4 All-Americans in 71. And then, of course, the heartbreaking 13-12 loss to Stanford out in the Pasadena Classic. But that team in that year in 12 games ran up 421 points. Right now, Michigan in 1976 has run up 404 points. They need 18 here this afternoon, and of course, along with their bowl game on January 1st out in Pasadena. The Michigan team is meeting the coaches. There comes Bo over there, and they're jumping up and down with maize and blue written all over every single uniform. It's a little bit odd to see Michigan in white, but who cares what colors they're wearing as long as they have on that traditional helmet, and as long as they have on those maize pants, and as long as they have that old Wolverine fighting desire deep in their hearts. That's what's carried Michigan all through the years to 8 national football titles, 4 under Yost in 01, 02, 03, and 04, 2 under Kipke, 1932 and 33. Fritz Kreisler won a national title in 1947, and Benny Osterbohn won a title in 1948. And Michigan hopes to defeat Ohio State here today and go out and beat the winner of the UCLA Southern California game, which will be held later this afternoon. And Michigan will meet the winner out there on January 1st. That's the way the pattern is set as far as Michigan is concerned. On the other hand, across the way here on this western sideline, the hometown Buckeyes. Boy, are they favored down here. This town is really oriented to football. Look at those Buckeyes jump up and down. Meanwhile, across the field, we see Michigan's Kirk Lewis, the captain of a year ago. Rob Lytle, All-American in everybody's book. The lad who has just rushed for more yards than any other football player in the history of Michigan football, number 41. He's slowly walking out, and on his right happens to be Big Calvin O'Neill, the leading tackler in the history of Michigan football. He set a record a year ago with 151 tackles, and so far this year, he has 131 with 2 games to go. Rob Lytle, meanwhile, as you know, has scored 27 touchdowns on his career, 24 running, 3 on the end of passes, 1 as a sophomore, and then 2 this year from the very fine Ricky Leach, who incidentally, coming into this ball game, has real fine credentials. Ricky has passed 87 times, completed 46 for 897 yards, and 13 big touchdowns, and his longest pass was for 64 yards to Jimmy Smith. Ricky Leach has carried the ball for the Wolverines in 10 games, 92 times, picking up 555 yards, averaging 6 yards a carry. And Ricky Leach has also scored 10 touchdowns, and his longest run for a touchdown was 48 yards. Right now, the co-captains of Ohio State, Bill Lukens, number 64, along with number 9, Thompson, and along with number 1, the All-American place-kicking specialist of Ohio State and punter. Ohio State will receive. Michigan will kick off. The Wolverines will defend the goal to our right. That means Michigan will receive the second half kickoff, just as they did in 1973 up in Ann Arbor. Michigan will kick off here this afternoon in 1976, and in just a few moments you will see those white jerseyed lads coming down here below us on the 35-yard line. We will find Sebron, Howard, Meter, and then we aren't sure whether it's Anderson or Bolden being in the kicking spot along with Wood. And on their right will be Hicks, Greer, Mackel, DeSantis, Pickens, and Pottick. And, of course, for Ohio State, their quarterback, Jimmy Pacetta, number 15, has carried the ball 46 times, only run for 62 yards. That's an average carry of 1.5 times per carry. He's not a real great option quarterback in that he doesn't have the quickness, the elusiveness that is so characteristic of his predecessor, Gerald, who was lost to Ohio State earlier this year with 3 broken ribs. Back on the Ohio State goal line, deep in the end zone, for this kickoff return will be Logan, number 34, Jackson, number 47, and 23, Spriggs. In the middle, of course, is their number 1 man, Logan, who has carried the ball 1,106 yards. He's scored 5 touchdowns. Every time he's carried the ball, he's averaged 6 yards a carry. He's caught 3 passes for 29 yards. His longest run, the same as Rob Lytle's, 75 yards. Bobby Wood, the number 1 place kicker in the history of Michigan football, approaches, and the kickoff of the 76 Michigan-Ohio State game is right out of the end zone, a la Bobby Wood fashion of earlier in 76. Look at Wood slap his hands. That's the way to boot him, Robert, oh boy, and the Buckeyes will check in 1st and 10 on their own 20-yard line. As we mentioned a moment ago, it'll be Jeff Logan at the tailback. It'll be Pete Johnson, the lad who right now has 57 touchdowns. He only needs 3 more touchdowns in his career to set an all-time NCAA record for the number of touchdowns scored by any football player in the history of intercollegiate football. The record is now held by the All-American Glenn Davis back in the middle 1940s. He had 59. Right now, Pete Johnson has 18 touchdowns. Last year, he had 39. Jimmy Harrell, number 11, is flanking out wide to the left. Wide to the right is Jones, number 49. It'll be the I formation, Logan deep and Johnson close. Pacetta under center, Michigan with a 5-2. He rolls out, he gives it off to Johnson, who gets 5 yards. Pete Johnson coming into the ball game, averaging 4 yards a carry, moved up behind Ward and Savoca, number 79, number 57, the left tackle and left guard, opening up a hole through the right side of Michigan's forward defensive line. And right now, Ohio State's offensive line averages 233 pounds a man. Up front in the trench, Michigan's defensive front 5 go at 222. The Buckeyes have 11-pound average advantage in the offensive line. 2nd and 5. Somebody jumped off sides, and there is Pete Johnson stopping, and that looked as though either Ohio pulled them off sides or Michigan jumped off sides. It will be illegal procedure against Ohio or offside against Michigan. We're not sure which. For those of you who may have just tuned in, Ohio State won the toss. That's right, illegal procedure against Ohio State. It'll cost them the 5 yards that Pete Johnson picked up on the first play of the ball game. For those of you, as we said, who may have just tuned in, Ohio won the toss of the coin. They elected to receive. It was booted right out of the end zone by Bobby Wood. The Buckeyes 1st and 10 on their own 20. Pete Johnson picked up 5. 2nd down and 5, and the Buckeyes just lost 5 yards via the penalty route. And so it'll be now the same. 2nd down, only 10 to go. Wide to the left this time is Harrell. Wide to the right is Jones. It's Logan deep and Johnson close at the I formation, looking Pacetta is looking over a 5-2. He's back for a pass. He's being chased back there, and he's going to run. He's up and out of bounds at the 20-yard line. He gained absolutely nothing. It'll bring up 3rd down and 10. And so Ohio State, who came into this ball game averaging on the ground 272 yards a ball game, 56 on the passing arms of Gerald and Pacetta, have averaged coming into the game a net of 328 yards per ball game to Michigan's 456. So the Wolverines have the offensive edge, and according to the experts, Ohio State has the defensive edge in this football classic of 1976. 3rd and 10. Up over the ball comes Lang. Wide to the left this time is Harrell. Wide to the right is Jones. It's Pro set on the line. It's Logan deep and Johnson post. A drop back pass by Pacenta. He throws it out to right flat to Logan. He's hit back there at the 18-yard line. A beautiful tackle by Tom Tedesco, number 99, who had 7 sacks coming into the ball game for 32 yards and losses, has just picked up his 8th sack of 1976 and his 60th tackle of 1976. And Michigan's defense, Moeller's Monsters, rise to the occasion the first time Ohio has the ball. And so Michigan drops 2 men back. It'll be Jimmy Smith and Dwight Hicks. Jimmy Smith is brought back in kickoffs, in punt returns, 18 and averaged 12.5 yards a return. Punting for Ohio State, the number 1 All-American punter in the country. Punted 42 times and averaged 40 yards a kick. A high end-over-end. Smith at the 35. Smith up at the 40. Smith wide to the right, and he's hit back at the 35. He's still on his feet at the 40. Cuts back in at the 44. That was a beautiful punt return. Now, let me give it to you in case you didn't see it on TV. Jimmy Smith caught it at the 35, moved up to the 37, went parallel with the 37, dropped back to the 32, outran 3 would-be tackers of Ohio State along that eastern sideline, then cut upfield and went down that eastern sideline right in front of Bo. Old General Patton was just egging him on up over the 40 to the 43-yard line. A 46-yard kick with an 8-yard return. So Michigan now with All-American Lytle deep and Davis close the I formation. 2 wide out. Smith close. Kurt Stevenson wide. Under center, quarterback Ricky Leach is first and 10 from their own 43-yard line. There it is, Rob Lytle. Oh, is he upended in there as Ohio State's front 3. Bonamici, Brown, and Beeman. 3 of the leading tacklers in the Big Ten. Bonamici with 80 tackles coming into the game. Brown, the middle guard, with 87 tackles coming into the game. And Beeman with 70 tackles coming into the game. A trio hit Rob Lytle. It'll be now second down and about 8. Second and 8, 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Up over the ball for Michigan is Downing. Ricky Leach looks at a 5-2-4 defense and on a long count from center with Lytle deep and Davis close. He takes the snap. He fakes it off and he keeps the ball. And no, sir, he gives it to Davis up over the 46 to the 48-yard line. Russell Davis coming into the ball game at average 6.5 yards a carry. Carrying against 10 opponents 71 times for 474 yards. Russell Davis, that fine sophomore fullback from down in Virginia, has picked up 3 touchdowns on the ground. And so Michigan now in their first third down conversion. Ohio State ended up 3rd down and 12, or 4th down and 12, and had to punt. Michigan right now has it 3rd down, and they have 5 yards to go for the first down. Lytle deep, and Ricky Leach goes back for a pass. He cocks his arm, and it's batted down as it leaves Ricky Leach's hand. It's Brodzinski. Brodzinski, the Fremont senior, who has been a classmate in high school of Michigan's All-American Rob Lytle. They chum together in the summer every year for the past 7 years at vacation time. They're real bosom buddies, but today they're enemies, and that time Brodzinski, number 84, with 104 tackles, the 3rd leading tackler, batted that ball down, and so Michigan now has back. It's John Anderson. Anderson is back on his own 32-yard line. Anderson has punted 20 times and averaged 40.5 yards a kick. There's the snap. It takes plenty of time. There it is, a beautiful long spiral, and it is taken by Roish, and he fumbles the ball, recovers at the 8-yard line. Roish, Tom Roish, number 26, from Staten Island, New York, took that punt, fumbled it, fell on it right there at the 8-yard line, a 44-yard kick. So both teams are playing sort of dawn like 2 heavyweight fighters feeling each other out. Neither one has picked up a first down. Both teams have punted once. And Michigan, on the exchange of punts, picked up 8 yards.
That's right. It seems like our defense is alert. Their defense seems to be alert. And I think this is a thing that can happen, Bob, as far as teams coming into a game. You're sky high and you let it all out. And so far, they're sparring, like you said, like 2 heavyweights.
You know, I'm glad you and I aren't sky high. You know, I keep telling myself, Ufer, 1,000 years from now, nobody will remember who won this game. So keep everything in its proper perspective. That's what we're going to do in this Michigan-Ohio State football game of 1976. The 73rd meeting between these two teams. As we said in our opening remarks, Michigan has won 39, Ohio State 28. 5 times these two teams have played to a tie. The biggest Michigan win was way back in 02. Yost, great point-a-minute teams as he shut out the Buckeyes 86-0. And then Francis Smith, coach of Ohio State in 1935, shut out Michigan in the Ohio State's biggest win over the Wolverines, 38-0. Michigan has shut out Ohio State, incidentally, 24 times over the years, and Ohio State has shut out Michigan 10 times over the years. Bo and Woody since 1969. What a confrontation it's been. Michigan has run up 88 points, Ohio State 96. And I'll give you some more stats, but the facts are Ohio first and 10 on their own 8-yard line. Pro set. There's a handoff to Pete Johnson. He's hit at the 11-yard line, picking up on the play about 3 yards. Coming into the game, remember, he had averaged about 4 yards a carry. On the first play from scrimmage here this afternoon, the big fullback, number 33 from Long Beach, New York, rambled for 5 yards, but then a illegal procedure penalty nullified that, and Ohio State ended up punting on 4th and 12. Michigan took the following punt. Jimmy Smith brought it back. The Wolverines started out on their own 43, ended up punting to the Buckeyes. It's now 2nd down and 8. Pro set, there is Logan with the ball, and he's hit right in the center there. Graves, Morton, Tedesco. Let's check Michigan's front 5 right there. We see Sebron at right end, Hennessy at right guard, Graves at the middle guard. Graves is quick. He moves in there well at middle guard. When they went strength, they moved Bobby Lang in at the middle guard, Michigan. Then Greg Morton, the number 2 tackler on the team, at left tackle. Tedesco at left end. And, of course, the 2 linebackers, Jerry Meter and Calvin O'Neill, co-captain O'Neill. Jerry Zuber, who's having a bang-up year for Michigan, as Bo mentioned to you and I in the locker room before this ball game started. Wide to the left is Harrell. Wide to the right is Jones. Logan deep and Johnson post. There he is, a rollout. Pacetta keeps the ball, and he's hit right there at the 14-yard line. Pacetta moving from the 11 to the 14. It'll now be a 3rd or 4th down situation, and once again, Greg Morton, that all Big Ten tackle from Akron, Ohio, has just made his 112th tackle of 1976, his 2nd this afternoon. And so Michigan's defense is in there right now and to see what they can do with number 1. The number 1 punter in the country last year, averaging 48.5 yards a kick. This year he's trying to place kick field goals and extra points as well. His punting average has dropped back to about 40.5 yards. This time it's a beautiful punt. It's Jimmy Smith at the 35, just where he got the last one. He cuts back in at the 40, and he's hit right there at the 41. He's still on his feet, and he cuts down to the 45, the 46. A beautiful return. There's a flag on the play, and it looks as though Michigan might have been guilty of clipping back on the 40-yard line. A 56-yard boom by Skladany. He may have come into the game with an average of 40.5, but we understand from their sports information director, he told us before the game, he said, Bob, forget about Skladany's average this year. He remembers when he broke his ankle in his freshman year up in Ann Arbor playing against the Wolverines. He claimed it was a cheap shot. Of course, every time an Ohio State man is tackled, it's a cheap shot, and vice versa, depending on what color uniform you're wearing. And he said he's going to really be ready to boom him. Well, that last punt was indicative of that. 56 yards, an 11-yard return. A fine return, incidentally, by Jimmy Smith. But right now, the official is going over to explain to Bo Schembechler just what has transpired. Meanwhile, around the country this afternoon, number Pitt is idle today, waiting to see what happens with UCLA and Southern Cal, and the big one here, Ohio State and Michigan. As we mentioned, number 2, UCLA is playing Southern Cal right after this game out in the West Coast. 5th place, Maryland is at Virginia this afternoon. 6th place, Georgia is idle. Texas Tech is hosting Houston. Texas Tech, you know, is slated for the Cotton Bowl. They're 7th in the country. Ohio State, number 8, of course, entertaining Michigan here. Number 9, Texas A&M hosting TCU. Number 10, Houston at Texas Tech. 11, Nebraska hosting Oklahoma. That should be a whale of a ball game in the Big 8. And number 12, Notre Dame up at South Bend against Miami of Florida. In the Big 10 this afternoon, Michigan State hosting Iowa, Minnesota at Wisconsin, Indiana at Purdue, and Northwestern at Illinois. And we will have those scores brought up to date as soon as they come in to the press box here. But remember, we kicked off due to television about 40 minutes before any other ball game in the country starts. So we won't have many scores. Wide to the right is Kurt Stevenson. Evidently, it was a penalty against both teams. I didn't pick up anything else. It's 1st and 10 on their own 45-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close. Wide to the right is Stevenson. Wide to the left is Smith. There's a handoff this time to Davis. Barrels his way to the 47-yard line. Hurled back by Brzezinski along with Casino and Bonamici, the whole left side of Ohio State's front 5, along with that linebacker. You know, Ohio State right now defensively has a line averaging 230 pounds a man. And Michigan's offensive front 7 go at 232. So the Wolverines, when they're on offense, have a 2-pound per man advantage. When Ohio State's on offense, they have an 11-pound per man advantage. Wide to the right is Jimmy Smith. Wide to the left is Stevenson. Lytle deep and Davis close. It's 2nd and 8. There's Ricky Leach going back. A left-handed passer cocks his arm, can't find a receiver, and he's hit right there at the 48-yard line. Ricky Leach looked for a moment as though he found the man open, and then he realized as he cut back he wasn't in a position to throw with a strong throw. In other words, he couldn't plant the foot that he needed to really throw one because he saw that Kurt Stevenson was trying to duck and go down deep. And so Michigan running quick without a huddle now, trying to catch him sleeping. Ricky Leach can't find a man open, and he eats the ball at the 43-yard line. Brzezinski, number 84, moving in there beautifully. As Ricky Leach, without a huddle, couldn't find a man open, changed his mind, stuttered just a step too long, and was brought down by Brzezinski. That is his fourth tackle of the afternoon, 108 on the season. And Michigan's Johnny Anderson, who last time punted the ball 44 yards, is standing back on his own 28-yard line. Walt Downing is listening for the signal. There it is. There is Anderson's punt, a high, wobbly kick off the right side of his foot, and it'll a Michigan bounce out of bounds at the Ohio State 21-yard line. And actually, this ball game started about 7 minutes ago, and it started with Ohio State on their own 20-yard line. The score, Michigan nothing, Ohio nothing. And right now, Ohio has the ball on their own 21-yard line. The score, Ohio State nothing, Michigan nothing. Don, we've played 7 minutes and actually haven't found out too much.
Really haven't, Bob. They just kind of, like you said earlier, they're just feeling each other out a little bit. We've been running into the line, not throwing possibly on first down, setting some things up. We had a quick huddle at one time. Now we're back to ready to go.
One thing we found out, we know why Ohio State has intercepted 22 passes. That pass defense, Ricky Leach can't find a man open. There's the Logan up through the left side. He picks up 2 yards at the most. That front five of Moeller's Monsters platoon out there, Hennessy, Graves, and Morton, the center three, moving in there as a one-man contingent. As you know, Michigan's defense this afternoon is the same as they've utilized for 8 years, and after all, why not? They've led the Big Ten in defense against the score 5 out of the last 7 years, and they led the nation 3 out of the 7 years, and right now they're number 2 in the nation, defense against the score. Wide to the left this time is Jones. There is Pacenta back. He throws the pass, and it is caught. No, incomplete. Incomplete. It was Harrell, Jimmy Harrell, trying to catch his 11th pass, tried to catch the ball. It was trapped. The crowd didn't like it. Standing right there was Hicks along with Bolden, and they both said to the official, that's right, it was trapped. The official nodded, indicated no good. It comes back to the original point of scrimmage. Midway between the sideline stripes on the Ohio State 23-yard line, it's 3rd down and 8 yards to go. 7 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the first period. No score from Columbus, Ohio on a beautiful November afternoon for football. Wide to the left this time is Jones. Wide to the right is Harrell. It's Logan deep and Johnson close. It's the I formation, and there's Pacenta handing off to Johnson. He's hit right there at the 26. Look at that big lad. Donald, you can see why that 254-pound frame has scored 57 touchdowns in 4 years.
You certainly can see that, Bob. He's a powerful fella, and we must have had 5 guys pop him and finally stopped him and contained him.
So it brings up a 4th down situation. Meter and Morton were the two that really made the final tackle on Pete Johnson. It brings up 4th down and 4, and once again, Mr. All-American number 1, Tom Spladany, in his senior year, standing on his own, call it the 13-yard line, about 21 yards in from this sideline. There it is. It's almost blocked. Beautiful punt. Smith catches it on his own 10-yard line. He has it. He's up to 15. Cuts back in at the 20, the 21, and that punting of Ohio State. You know, they used to say, or they still say, that 1/3 of all football games, Don, are decided on the punting game. And that has been so true in these close ball games between Ohio State and Michigan. What about the 2 field goals in '73 that were missed at the end, and Michigan had to settle for a 10-10 tie? 2 years ago down here, 4 field goals by Ohio State. They led 12-10, and Michigan missed a 23-yard field goal in the last 16 seconds. Boy, the punting game is all important. Lytle deep and Davis close. I formation, Ricky Leach under center, 1st and 10 from his own 21-yard line. He gives it off to Davis. He's hit right there. Russell Davis is hit by Aaron Brown. I tell you, Donald, looking at this ball game right now, the breaks are going to decide it. It's just as we said before. It's like 2 heavyweight fighters picking each other apart, sort of feeling each other out, trying to find a vulnerable spot, trying to find an Achilles heel. Neither team has apparently shown the other team any weakness because neither team has picked up a 1st down, and we're halfway through the 1st quarter. It's Lytle deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center. Michigan's vaunted offensive attack now with Ricky Leach keeping the ball. Handing it to Davis, and Davis cannot pick up anything. Davis can pick up absolutely nothing. It's Brown, Bonamici, both in there making a 2-man tandem tackle on Russell Davis. For those of you who have just tuned in, you haven't missed a doggone thing. Ohio State took the opening kickoff. They have punted 3 times. Michigan has punted twice. Neither team has picked up any type of a score. Neither team has threatened. And Michigan has punted twice, and they have it now 3rd and 9 on their own 22-yard line. Lytle deep, Davis close. 2 men wide out, Stevenson and Smith. Ricky Leach goes back to pass. Cox's Army's going to run with the ball. Now he keeps it. He's hit at the 27-yard line and dropped right there, but it'll bring up 4th down. And so Ohio a moment ago had 4th down and 4. Michigan now has 4th down and 3. And again, Johnny Anderson now will try and match the kicking of Skladany's 46, 56, and 58 yards. Johnny Anderson's last punt only went 36 yards. This could be a decided advantage. Bringing back this kick return will be Griffin. There it is, a high, long spiral, and it's coming down, being taken by Logan at the 28, the 30, the 35, the 40, out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Jeff Logan coming down this western sideline, knocked out of bounds at the 42-yard line. A 44-yard kick by Johnny Anderson, 2 yards over his average, since he is leading the Big Ten with 42.4 yards per punt, but his average punt over the whole year for Michigan has been 40.7. But that time he boomed it out, 44 yards, a fine return by Jeff Logan of 14 yards. So check in Ohio State's offense, and this is the furthest penetration by either team as Ohio now has the ball on their own 42.5-yard line. No score, and we're going to pause for a word over this, the very maize and blue, scarlet and gray football network. With Don Lund, Jack Lane, Bill Pertula, Jerry McCarty spinning the dials, and Jimmy Janacek spotting the Buckeyes. We're all set to bring you exciting action here. The final 5 minutes of the first quarter. Remember, at halftime, Bob Foreman will have a great halftime show. Wide to the left is Harrell. Wide to the right is Jones. There's a hand up to Drogan. He's hit and dropped right there. Beautiful tackle in there. 2 men in on the tackle. Bill Pertula will have that for us in just a moment as they unpile. It's both defensive tackles. Hennessy and Morton both in there making 2-man tackle on the ball carrier, Jeff Logan, who coming into the game, remember, had averaged 6 yards a carry, running up over 1,106 yards. Michigan's ball players in the back of their I formation, as you know. Lytle has run up 1,238 yards and has also become the leading ground gainer in the history of Michigan football. It brings up 2nd and 10 for the Buckeyes. Wide to the left, Harrell. There is Pacenta with the ball. He slips. He is stopped right there at the 45-yard line. So on 2nd down and 10, Pacenta picks up 2.5 yards. All he does is move the ball about midway between the sideline stripes, just about 1.5 yards shy of that big scarlet O that permeates that tartan turf out here this afternoon. Don, I can't get over the sunshine, the fine November weather that we have here in Columbus this afternoon.
It certainly is, and we have to thank the weatherman for that, Bob. It's just so nice, you take this game and the build-up to it, and then if it were spoiled by inclement weather, so he cooperated with us.
Well, 88,000 fans along with you and me, and we're all expecting a lot of action here. There it is, 3rd down and 8. He's back for a pass. He throws downfield. It's almost intercepted by Zuber. He couldn't quite hold it. Jerry Zuber has intercepted 5 passes of the enemy this year. In fact, against Michigan State, he intercepted a pass and brought it back for 60 yards. He couldn't hold that, so it brings in the #1 punter in the land, old Mr. Tom Skladany. He's standing back around the 31-yard line. His last punt boomed out 58 yards. His second punt went 56 yards. His first punt, 46 yards. He's certainly not showing the average in the first 10 games of 40 yards. There it is again, a long one. Jimmy Smith takes it at the 12. Jimmy Smith back up to the 15, to the 20. The 21-yard line. Michigan has it just where they had it 2 punts ago on their own 21-yard line. 3 minutes, 41 seconds remaining in the first period. Yes, sir, it's been Michigan, Ohio, the Big Two of the Big Ten since 1969, and actually the last team to go to the Rose Bowl outside of Michigan and Ohio State was the Indiana Cinderella team under Johnny Pond. That was the 67 team that went to Pasadena on January 1st of 68. Here in Columbus, in 1976, November 20th, Michigan has it 1st and 10 on their own 21-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center, looks at the 6-man front, gives it off to Lytle, who's hit. He breaks the tackle. He's up to the 24-yard line. Rob Lytle, far short of his average of 7 yards per carry, has carried the ball here this afternoon twice, and he's picked up about 5 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. Our human computer, Jack Lane, just whipped that to us so fast and furious. The ball is resting 19 yards in from this, the western sideline. No score from Columbus, Ohio. A ball game that promises to be just a real bloodletting. I'll tell you before this is over. 2 tight ends on a balanced line. Wide to the right is Smith. There's the delayed handoff to Rob Lytle up over the 30, the 32, and it's a first down, Michigan, the first down of the ball game, and who should make it? None other than the leading ball carrier in the history of Michigan football, Rob Lytle, as he picks up the first real statistic of the afternoon outside of the great punting by Tom Skladany. It's Rob Lytle picking up the first down. Michigan has it out from the underneath the shadow of that flagpole here, which comes out to about the 30-yard line, which Jimmy Smith is kneeling right there, wide to the right. Lytle deep, Davis close. Davis has it over the 35, and is he hit and wrestled to the ground at the 36-yard line. Brown, Beeman, and Danzler. You know, these two teams are really scrapping, and you know, football games, when you have two great football teams like Michigan and Ohio State, you know where the game is decided? Right up there in those trenches. Those 5 men for Ohio State and Michigan's 7 men right now are going to decide, and vice versa when Ohio State's on offense. Wide to the right is Jimmy Smith. Wide to the left is Stevenson. Lytle deep, Davis close. It's 2nd and 7 on their own 36-yard line. Ricky Leach under center, fakes to Davis, rolls out, pitches off to Lytle at the 35, cuts to the 40, the 41. He is only a yard shy of Michigan's second first down of the ball game. Hang on to your kilocycles. Michigan is moving now. They started on their own 21-yard line after Jimmy Smith. Brought back a Skladany punt from the from the Wolverine 10 out to the Michigan 21-yard line. Now the Wolverines have it 3rd down and 1. And this is a 3rd down situation for Ricky Leach, his 4th. He's 0 for 3. Ohio State's Pacetta is 0 for 4. Ricky Leach under center. 2 tight ends in a balanced line, and Lytle deep and Davis close. They need 1 yard, and there's Rob Lytle. He has a first down and more to the 45-yard line. So this is what Bo Schembechler, George Patton football is all about. Ball control, momentum, 1 minute and 31 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Down on the playing field. The chain gang moves up, and the referee signals time is in. The ball is resting midway between the sideline stripes. No score from Columbus, Ohio on a beautiful November afternoon. Wide to the right is Kurt Stevenson. Wide to the left is Jimmy Smith. It's Lytle deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach under center looks at a 5-2-4 umbrella defense, and that's just what he's looking at right now. He fakes to Davis, pitches off to Lytle over the 45, 50, midfield stripe, and down to the Ohio State 48-yard line. Bowish makes the tackle, number 26. Tom Roche is the way you pronounce it. R-O-W-S-H is the phonetical pronunciation. There is a Michigan man shaken up on the play, and while they're working on him, he being the number 1 offensive tool that Michigan has, Rob Lytle. Let's pause for a message over this, the very distraught with Rob Lytle hurt, Michigan Football Network.
Somebody down on every play. Great blocker, great runner. In this game of stingy defenses, Lytle has carried 6 times for 32 yards. There's his head coach, Bo Schembechler, a native of Barberton, Ohio. Against Woody Hayes, he has won 2, lost 4, and tied 1. He is 0 for 3 in this stadium against Ohio State. And for the Wolverines, Rob Lytle moving off to the far sideline. We hope he'll be okay. We'll get a report at our first opportunity.
He looks like he certainly will be all right. That last play was as good execution by Leach as I've seen.
Here with the play-by-play microphone, Michigan back in the huddle. Rob Lytle went out under his own power. Harlan Huckabee is in, the sophomore sensation from Detroit, averaging 7.5 yards a carry. Michigan has the ball, 2nd and 3. Huckabee deep and Davis close to 2 sophomores at the tandem of the eye. There's Davis. He has a first down to the Buckeye 45-yard line. He's just over the 45. I was maybe a little premature in there. Remember, the series started just over the Michigan 45-yard line. It is a first down. The 3rd first down of the ball game. This drive that was started with about 1.5 minutes remaining in the first period has moved the ball from the Wolverine 21-yard line all the way down to the Ohio State 45, and this is controlled, sustained momentum football, the kind Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes both love. Wide to the right is Stevenson. Wide to the left comes Jimmy Smith. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach under center looking at a 7-man front. He gives it off to Huckabee, who spins away from a tackle and is dropped at the 43-yard line. Harlan Huckabee, who has, coming into the ball game, run the ball 147 times for 859 yards. 11 touchdowns for this sophomore this year, 14 on his career. As Michigan now, there it is, the end of the first period, 15 minutes into the record book. Michigan moving over this, the Michigan Football Network. Up over the ball comes Walt Downing. The line follows its balance. Wide to the right is Stevenson. Wide to the left is Jimmy Smith. Ricky Leach is under center. The referee now is talking things over with the umpire, and he's checking things out, going back behind the tailback, who is Harlan Huckabee. Okay, Michigan, 2nd and 8 on the Ohio State 43-yard line. There is the keep by Ricky Leach, and he throws downfield, and it's too high. The intended receiver, Gene Johnson, wide open down at the Buckeye 19-yard line. Gene Johnson, coming into the game, had caught 7 passes for 54 yards and 3 big touchdowns. That time, his old teammate, Ricky Leach, in high school up there in the Flint area, couldn't quite get that ball down enough. Ricky Leach, a left-handed passer, who coming into the game had 46 out of 87. Here this afternoon, he's thrown 2, completed none. Ohio State is 1 for 3. Okay, here it is, the third down situation. 3rd and 8. Pro set. Huckabee deep. Davis close. Ricky Leach goes back. The draw play to Davis. He's up over the 40. He cuts back in at the 40, at the 36, and he is still shy. He is shy of the first down by about 1.5 yards at the Ohio State 36-yard line. It brings up 4th down, and one man will make this decision. Will it be Bobby Wood? I doubt very much, because he would attempt a 54-yard field goal. I don't think Bo will punt here, because Ohio State had the ball the last time on a punt return by Jeff Logan at their own 43-yard line on the return. So even if Michigan doesn't make it, here comes Rob Lytle back in. Harlan Huckabee goes out. So wide to the left goes Jimmy Smith. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. The first key play of the ball game. No score with 14 minutes left in the first quarter. There's the draw play to Rob Lytle. He doesn't make it. Rob Lytle doesn't make it on the draw play through left tackle. And Brodzinski, his old teammate in high school, probably his best friend, brought him down defensively from that right end position of Ohio State. And the Buckeyes take over. Ohio State's defense, that was the blue chip that they came into this ball game with, and it certainly rose to the occasion on that particular situation. Michigan with 4th and 1.5 turns the ball over to the Buckeyes. No score from Columbus, Ohio. A real barn burner. Donnybrook wide to the right is Jones. Wide to the left is Harrell. I formation, Logan deep. There's Johnson up through the center, picks up 1.5 yards at the most. Big Pete Johnson, who coming into the game had carried the ball 164 times for 677 yards. Pete Johnson actually has been ailing all year. He hurt his ankles early in the season when Ohio State was playing that second game against Missouri, a game that the Buckeyes lost 22-21. Pete Johnson hurt both ankles, and he's not the Pete Johnson of a year ago who rambled for over 1,000 yards. Hyatt is in now wide to the left along with Harrell. There is Pacenta. He gives to Johnson, and Johnson picks up 2.5, maybe 3 more yards over the 40 to the Buckeye 43-yard line before he's dropped in there by Jimmy Pickens, making his 64th tackle of the season, his 2nd this afternoon. Doggone it, we just keep referring to this as a boxing match between 2 fighters. Neither team has really opened up too much. Michigan has thrown or attempted 2 passes. One, the man was open, it was overthrown, and the other one was incomplete. Ohio State is 1 for 3. Michigan is 0 for 2. Wide to the right is Jones. Wide to the left is Harrell. Underneath center, of course, is Pacenta. He's back for a pass. He cocks his arm. He can't find a receiver. He throws downfield, and it's caught as he goes out of bounds, but it's incomplete. He couldn't hold on to the ball inbounds, so it is incomplete. Herman Jones trying to collect his 4th reception of 1976. And so Ohio State's number 1 punter again. The last time this lad punted, he punted the ball only 45 yards. I say only 45. Any punter in the nation would have been happy with that. But his 3 previous punts were 58, 56, and 46 yards. Anderson has 3, 2 44-yard kicks, and 1 bad one at 36 yards. Considering the fact he's been injured, though, that's good. There is Spladany. There it goes again. A booming long kick. It's Jimmy Smith at the Michigan 10. He's up to the Wolverine 15. He's up to the 20, the 25, the 30, the 32, the 35, 37-yard line. Beautiful return by Jimmy Smith, the Blue Island, Illinois senior, swivel-hipping his way down that eastern sideline, bringing back a 50-yard kick, 27 yards, which negates 23 yards of that punt. And so Michigan in good field position, thanks to the excellent punt return and a key block thrown down there. The key block was thrown back there by Pickens that enabled Jimmy Smith to move all the way down that eastern sideline And so now the Wolverines on the offense once again, and there's timeout down on the playing field. No passes completed on either side of the line of scrimmage. It's really being fought up there in those trenches, and neither team has much to crow about. Michigan with a 30-yard advantage on the ground so far, but no scoring. The Wolverines 1st and 10 from their own 37-yard line. It's Lytle deep and Davis close in the I formation, tight on the right side at the slot is Jimmy Smith. There is the draw play again to Rob Lytle. He's up over the 40 to 41-yard line before he is dropped in there by Thompson, the number 2 tackler on the Ohio State team from Waverly, Ohio. He's had 124 tackles coming into the ball game, and his counterpart on the other side, the linebacker, Tom Casino, is the number 1 tackler with 141. Both of these linebackers of Ohio State are fantastic football players. The whole front 7 actually are. The Wolfman, the 2 linebackers, and the 5 men up front. Looking that over is Ricky Leach, 2nd and 8 at the Buckeye 40 and at the Wolverine 40 and a half. There it is. Russell Davis up over the 45 to the 47-yard line. Just about putting the ball midway between the sideline stripes, right on one of those parts of the Scarlet O. You know, through the years, Michigan's had 67 All-Americans, 14 under Bo. Ohio State's had 68, 37 under Woody. 2 of the great coaches of our lifetime, certainly. Battling it out here on a beautiful November afternoon for a chance to go to the Rose Bowl, the coveted bid that has evaded Michigan for 5 long years. 2 tight ends in a balanced line, 3rd and 1. The I formation, Lytle deep and Davis close. Hang on to your maize and blue kilocycles. It's Ricky Leach under center, and Ricky Leach goes out and keeps the ball, and he's going to go for the first down over the midfield stripe to the Ohio State 47-yard line. Beautiful option running as he went down the line, and then as he saw that his tailback and co-captain Rob Lytle was being covered, he just faked the pitch just for a second, enough to pull an Ohio State man a step too far. Then he cut back inside of that Ohio State man over the midfield stripe into Buckeye territory to the Ohio State 47-yard line. Michigan, the last time they had the ball, moved the ball all the way from their own 21-yard line down to the Buckeye 34-yard line where they turned it over on 4th down. Ricky Leach with 2 tight ends in the balanced line. Wide to the right is Jimmy Smith. High formation, Lytle deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach looks at a 5-2-4 umbrella, and then he gives it off to Lytle on the deep pitch, and Lytle is Jimmy Smith at the slot. Lytle deep, Davis close. Fake to Davis, back for pass in the midfield stripe, throwing the bomb, and he trips over the official. He trips over the official. He, being Kurt Stevenson, tripped over the official. The head linesman down there couldn't get out of the way. And boy, oh boy, I'm sure the coaches will have a few things to say about that. Although, in fairness to the official, the ball was way over the head of the intended receiver, and the halfback covering back there was Mike Guest, who has had 2 pass interceptions. You know, those Buckeyes have been devastating on picking up turnovers. They've picked up 34 so far this year, 22 pass interceptions. They've recovered 12 fumbles by 10 enemies so far in 1976. But they're very alert on pass defense, as Ricky Leach is finding out, as Leach is now 0 for 3 in passing. It'll bring up 3rd down and 8. Pro set. Stevenson wide to the right. Smith wide to the left. A rollout play action pass. He throws it downfield, and it's incomplete. The man it was intended for down here was the fullback, Russell Davis. He couldn't hold on to the ball at the 40-yard line of Ohio State, and so it'll be a punting situation. A punting situation for Michigan's John Anderson, who has booted that ball 3 times. Once 44, once 36, and the last time 44. This time he doesn't want as much distance as he wants to get it high up in the air. He wants to hang some clothes on this one, high enough for a clothesline so that the 7 linemen can get down. There it is, high end over end. It's going to be a good bounce. It hits on the 5-yard line, and it's going to roll dead on the 3-yard line. A beautiful bounce for Michigan. As John Anderson, as we said, didn't want to get a distance punch. He just wanted a nice 41-yarder. A 44-yarder would have been negated because it would have been brought out as a touchback. And so Ohio now, deep in their own territory, they have yet to pick up a first down. They call timeout, and we call time in over this, the very maize and blue. So we're right in the center of the second quarter. Ohio State has the ball with their back to their goal line on their own 3-yard line. 2 wide outs, Hyatt along with Harrell. And there's the handoff to Logan, and he twists away at the 5 to the 10. He broke a tackle at the 5-yard line. Great running in there by Jeff Logan. That North Canton tailback, who Woody Hayes says reminds him an awful lot of Archie Griffin. And you remember Archie Griffin, the Heisman Award winner in 74 and 75. Heisman Award winner, and also the lad who picked up over 100 yards, 31 different games. But against Michigan, he only scored 1 touchdown in 4 years and averaged 47 yards a game in 4 seasons. There's a handoff to Johnson. Oh, is he hit in there by Tom Sebron? That sophomore from Cass Tech in Detroit. He's a teammate of Harlan Hucklebee's, that big 6'4", 212-pounder who can run the 100 in 9.8 and a 220. You trackmen get this. He can go 9.8 in the 100 and 21.2 in the 220. Now, that really is picking them up and laying them down. And he met Pete Johnson, and I'll tell you, Johnson knew he was hit right there at the 10-yard line. It brings up 3rd down and 3. Logan deep, Johnson close. The I formation. Logan has it. He needs 3. He gets it. He's away to the 19-yard line. Jeff Logan picks up the first down of the ball game for Ohio State, and they never needed it at a more opportune time, because in that last situation, Ohio State, the offense was called on, and they produced. They hadn't picked up a first down in the first 22 minutes of the first half, and here with their backs to the goal line on the 3-yard line, they now have it 1st and 10 in their own 19. I formation, Logan deep and Johnson close. 2 wide outs. There is a handoff to Johnson. He is hit right there at the 23-yard line. Pete Johnson is carrying the ball quite a bit here this afternoon, but he's not picking up sizable yardage. He's just grinding it out. That Johnson lad is real good inside the opponent's 10-yard line. That's where he's made most of his 57 touchdowns. You remember, he was the lad that scored all 3 touchdowns a year ago in that fateful 21-14 defeat at the hands of Ohio State a year ago. It's Logan deep, and Logan has the ball, and he's hit right there at the line of scrimmage at the 24-yard line on 2nd and 6. It'll be 3rd down now and about 5.5. Johnson actually has carried the ball 7 times for 19 yards, so that's just under 3 yards per carry. And coming into the ball game, in 164 carries, he's averaged just 4 yards a carry. So this big fullback is, as they say in the football vernacular, could have picked up a little bit of so-called senioritis. Not quite as effective as he was a year ago when he ran for over 1,100 yards. There's a handoff to Logan. He needs the first down, but he doesn't get it. It was 5.5 to go, and he picked up 2.5, and he's smothered right there at the 27-yard line. So it brings up 4th down, and here comes Skladany. The last time Skladany punted, he punted a boomer 50 yards all the way down to the northeast corner where Jimmy Smith brought it back up the eastern sideline, 27 yards all the way back to the Michigan 38-yard line. A beautiful punt return. Then Michigan picked up another first down, and then they were forced to punt. Johnson punted to the Buckeye 3. Ohio State's moved it out to the Buckeye 27, where it's 4th down. Skladany again from his own 13-yard line. Oh, my goodness, there it is. Jimmy Smith at the 19, fumbles the ball. He can't pick it up. Now he has it. He dances away at the 50. He's at the 20 and out of bounds at the 23-yard line, and the star of this ball game so far on Ohio State's side has been Tom Skladany, the punter, and on Michigan's side has been the great punt returns by Jimmy Smith when he's seemingly trapped back in there, and then he eludes those would-be Ohio State tacklers, who incidentally are great tacklers. They aren't shoddy tacklers. 7 of the 11 Ohio State defensemen are slated to be in professional football over the next 2 years. A 57-yard kick. That's what's keeping Ohio State in this ball game. They only have 1 first down. An 8-yard return. 1st and 10 on their own 24-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center. He has a pro set with the end and the halfback. There he is over the 30, the 32, the 34-yard line. It's Russell Davis picking him up and laying him down like a big bull with a bee in his ear, just rambling in and out of the hands of 2 would-be tacklers. And incidentally, let's give some credit up front to Donahue and Dufek, who blocked beautifully and opened up a fine hole for their sophomore fullback, Russell Davis. Remember, Michigan only graduates 2 seniors in their first 22 offensive men. And what a 2 senior combination they are. Co-captain Rob Lytle, all Big Ten split end, Jimmy Smith. It'll be 1st and 10 for Michigan. Lytle deep and Davis close. The Wolverines now have 5 first downs. There's a delayed handoff to Lytle, and he's hit right there for a loss at the 34-yard line. Rob Lytle was hit right there. Call it the 34-yard line. That's just where the ball was carried to by Russell Davis on the previous play. So Rob Lytle picks up absolutely nothing on the play as the ball rests 18 yards in from the eastern sideline. You know, Russell Davis, interestingly enough, talking about picking up yardage, has never lost a yard as a freshman or a sophomore fullback at Michigan. Never lost a yard in running from the line of scrimmage. 2 wideouts. Davis fakes the ball from Leach. Leach keeps it. Leach is going to run with it. He's running for dear life out of bounds at the 34-yard line. That was 2nd down and 9, and he found no running room. He found Jimmy Smith covered with a blanket of scarlet and gray down that eastern sideline. Casino, the #1 tackler of Ohio State, just piggyback rode Leach right into the lap of Bo Schembechler along that eastern sideline. No score from Columbus, Ohio. 5 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in the first half. Michigan has 5 first downs. Ohio State has 1. Both teams have thrown 4 passes. Ohio State's completed 1. Ricky Leach has yet to complete a pass. This is it. 3rd and 10 for Michigan. Davis close, Lytle deep. They're both blocking for Ricky Leach, and he's going to throw. No, sir, out here in the right flat. Incomplete. The intended receiver was Gene Johnson. Ricky Leach was really belted back there at the 25-yard line after he threw the ball. And it brings up Johnny Anderson with 4 minutes and 53 seconds. And the Ohio State crowd comes to life here, hoping that Jeff Logan, along with Ohio State's Allegro, number 22, can bring back this punt and give Ohio State good field position. The line of scrimmage is a Michigan 34. Johnny Anderson is standing at the Wolverine 19, 18 yards in at the hash line. There is a snap from center. Ohio State's working for a return. There is the kick, and the Michigan men are there. At the 34-yard line, he's hit and dropped right there, Logan. No chance, because you notice, if you were watching and if you're listening, that Anderson, realizing he had a lot of time to punt, that Ohio was planning a return, took lots of time to allow his offensive lineman to get down there so that when he did punt and Logan did catch it, even though Logan had 4 men out in front blocking, Michigan had 4 men right there waiting to make the tackle. A 40-yard punt with no return whatsoever. That was good, heady work on the part of John Anderson, Don.
Finally, the one fella came in and almost blocked it, but John was thinking, like you mentioned, they were prepared for the return, and then I thought maybe Logan might signal for a catch, and he did, and he got popped by 3 or 4 guys right quick and dropped right on the 25-yard line.
Yes, sir, when you talk about Jimmy Smith, God darn it, you run out of superlatives. He's a great pass-catching end. As you know, offensively, Jimmy Smith so far this year has caught 24 passes for 662 yards, and ironically enough, at the end of 12 games last year, he had caught 24 passes for 553 yards. Jimmy Smith has 15 touchdowns on his career, 14 on the reception of passes, and 1 for a run. And also, it's interesting to note that Jimmy Smith, over his long career at Michigan, over 4 years, he played as a freshman in '73, has 71 career receptions. That's tied for 3rd on the all-time list. So Ohio State now 1st and 10 with Logan deep and Johnson close. Pacetta's back for a pass. He can't find a receiver. He breaks away, and he's going to run. He's up the 25, hit at the 30, the 32, the 33-yard line. Beautiful scrambling in there by Jim Pacetta, because Michigan had him trapped, and this is a lad, Don, who isn't supposed to be a scrambling quarterback. That's the kind of play you expect from Gerald, the very fleet, elusive quarterback that they had in their first 3 ball games. But here in this ball game, Pacetta is running those broken plays beautifully.
Yeah, it fooled me, Bob. He almost looked like a cherry picker coming around and picking it off, but he did a good job.
One of those old naked reverses. Okay, it's 2nd and 3. DeLaw play. Oh, as Logan hit in there, he needed 3, and he picked up 1. It's Sebron in there, who you remember on the last series that Ohio State had the ball. Sebron came in and decked Johnson down at the 10-yard line. But that time Sebron came in, and you know, Sebron is having a break in that he really wasn't in there as a starter until Johnny Anderson hurt his knee 2 weeks ago. And then Sebron started last week against Illinois, did a tremendous job, and now he is earning his spurs out here as a defensive end. Let me tell you, it'll be 3rd down and 3. Pacetta's out to the right. There he pitches, and Logan's open the 40, the 45, the midfield stripe, and he drives to the Michigan 45-yard line. Boy, that was beautiful option play by Ohio State. Pacetta waited till the last minute, Pacetta being the Ohio State quarterback, pitched it out to Logan, who was trailing, and they completely outflanked the entire Michigan forward wall, linebackers, halfbacks, and it was Dwight Hicks, the safety man, who made sure, as Dwight Hicks picks up his 43rd tackle of the season, and had Logan gotten by Hicks, Katie barred the door. It had been Ohio State 6. Wide to the right is Hyatt. Wide to the right, short is Harrell. There is Pacenta, has the ball. He breaks it over the 40, the 35, down to the 30. He's down the 25 to the 23. And Graves makes the tackle. Ohio State with 3 minutes and 18 seconds remaining on the clock brings this crowd of over 88,000 people to their feet. Remember, you have 84,000 Ohio fans, and they're going stark raving bananas right now as the Buckeyes have moved down and are threatening for the first time this afternoon. Wide to the right is Jones. Wide to the right on the slot is Harrell. It's Logan deep and Johnson close, and Logan has the ball. And Logan's hit right there at the 23-yard line by Tedesco. Tedesco and Sebron, two great defensive ends, are making big plays for the white-jerseyed lads from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Calvin O'Neill and Tedesco both in on that tackle. Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan leading the NCAA stats in rushing with 362. UCLA is second with 361. But the stat you care about is Ohio State, 2nd and 9 on the Michigan 29. There's Logan. He's over the 20, the 15, the 12. And Jeff Logan is down to the Michigan 12-yard line. 18 yards in from this, the western sideline. Ohio State has caught fire offensively after a sluggish first period where they picked up no first downs. Right now, Ohio State has picked up their 4th first down, and they had none in the first period. Now they have 4 in the second quarter, and it is wide to the right goes Jones and Harrell. And Jeff Logan asked the crowd to settle down. 1st and 10 at the Michigan 12-yard line, and there is Pacenta handing off to Logan. He's hit right there at the 10. Logan picked up about 2 yards on the play. Hennessy submarining, grabbing legs, and one of them was Jeff Logan. The ball rests 18 yards in from this, the western sideline. Michigan with a front 5 of Tedesco, Morton, Graves, Hennessy, and Sebron. The linebackers O'Neill and Bogley. Jerry Zuber is the Wolf with Pickens and Bolden at the halfback spot, and Dwight Hicks. Those 11 Moeller monsters are determined to keep Ohio State from scoring here. It's Jaco, number 87, in at tight end along with Storer. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Back for a pass is Pacenta. He throws downfield. It's intercepted, touchback. Intercepted, but there's a flag on the play, and that'll be an automatic touchback for Michigan. The maize and blue thwart the Buckeye scoring attempt as Michigan has it 1st and 10. Send in the Wolverine offense. The official, wait a minute, threw the flag, and all he was indicating was that it was a touchback, nothing more. Right, Don?
No, Bob. What he had offensive pass interference against Ohio State. He threw the flag, and then we intercepted, and so it's our ball 1st and 10 on the 20.
We denied the penalty, in other words. Well, we knew the way the Wolverines were roaring off. We thought for a moment when he threw the flag, but when it should have been an automatic touchback. They do not throw the flag, Ufer, if you'll remember, on a touchback or a touchdown. They indicate with a signal a touchdown or a touchback or a safety. Well, there was a penalty. I appreciate that, Don Lund. You know, it's really nice to have a former official sitting here at a microphone with us. 1st and 10 for the maize and blue. They stop the Buckeyes. This is a game of emotions. Can Michigan pick it up now? Lytle deep and Davis close. We have 1 minute and 26 seconds remaining in the first half. There's Lytle up over the 20, the 25, the 27. Yes, they can pick it up. You can just see the daubers of the scarlet and gray, Lundo, down a little bit. They thought they would come away with at least 3 points on the toe of one of the finest kickers in the history of NCAA football, Tom Skladany, who's been kicking the pig right out of the pigskin here today with booming punts of 46, 56, 58, 45, 50, and 57 yards. He was warming up here in the wings, but Michigan's Dwight Hicks intercepted the ball in the end zone. Check, it was Jerry Zuber who gets credit for that touchback. Lytle deep and Davis close. It'll be 2nd and 2, and there is Davis. He has a first down at the old Michigan 32-yard line. Russell Davis keeps the clock moving with 44 seconds remaining. We have no score from Columbus, Ohio, in a real Donnybrook. Everybody said, even Jimmy the Greek dropped the odds from 5.5 to 2.5 this morning at 10 o'clock. And right now, that's just about what it is, an even Steven ball game. Ohio State has 4 first downs, all in the second quarter. Michigan has 6 first downs, 3 in the first quarter, 3 here in the second quarter, as the Wolverines are 1st and 10 on their own 32-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close, and Lytle follows Davis over the 35, the 40, the 41-yard line. The momentum is switched entirely. The game of emotions is transpiring right in front of your eyes as Ohio State moved majestically down the field, all the way from their own 24-yard line, all the way down to the Michigan 10-yard line, where Pacenta had a pass intercepted, and now Michigan has moved from their own 20-yard line with 2 seconds, 1 second. That's all there is. There isn't any more in the first. Check. There's 1 second left. Check. Check. There's 1 second left, and Michigan called timeout. Why not have time for one play? Ricky Leach has done it before. Remember against Stanford a year ago when Ricky Leach went back with 6 seconds remaining on the clock. And Michigan had the ball on the 49-yard line of the Wolverines, and he dropped back and he cocked his arm and he threw a 51-yard bomb to Jimmy Smith. Smith caught it, the half ended, and Michigan left the field at halftime with a big psychological edge. And, brother, they needed it because that ball game ended up in a tie, you remember, a year ago, 19-19. Little did Michigan realize how significant that touchdown was up there in Ann Arbor against Stanford with only 6 seconds remaining on the clock, and everybody had thought the first half was over. Just as we think this first half is over, we saw the clock go down to 1 second, and then Ricky Leach very alertly said, timeout. This is the last play of the first half. It's second down. 1 yard to go, but that doesn't mean a thing. 58 yards away from the Ohio State. A draw play to Davis. He's over the 45 to the 47. Michigan picks up 7 more yards in the first half. Wow, it's been a real hectic first 30 minutes. All the statistics about even. Michigan with 6 first downs, Ohio State with 4. But Bob Foreman and Don Lund will be back with more statistics, more of the color, the charisma that surrounds Michigan-Ohio State football.
Well, today we're going to flashback to the year of 1973 in a game played in the Michigan Stadium between Michigan and Ohio State, not unlike the situation that confronted these two teams today. They were tied for the conference championship. The winner would win the conference title and go to the Rose Bowl. No scoring in the first quarter. Then Archie Griffin got things going for the Buckeyes on this 38-yard burst in the second quarter. This culminated in a 31-yard field goal by Blair Conway of Ohio State, and Ohio State led 3-0. Then, with only 53 seconds to play in the first half, Pete Johnson crashed over from the 5, and Ohio State had a 10-0 lead at halftime. That's the way it stayed until 37 seconds into the fourth quarter when Mike Lantry booted a 30-yard field goal, and it was 10-3 Ohio State. And then, with a little bit over 5 minutes to play, Dennis Franklin of the Wolverines scampered around the right side to score for Michigan, and that tied it up 10-10. A short time later, Mike Lantry tried a 58-yard field goal, and the setting couldn't have been more dramatic. If you'll see the football, you'll see it just missed to the left. It was long enough, but about 2 feet to the left. The Wolverines got the ball back when Craig Hare of Ohio State attempted to pass. Tom Drake moved in, intercepted it, and the Wolverines, with less than 30 seconds to go, had a chance to win it all. Mike Lantry then lined up for a 44-yard field goal, and it was off to the right. And the game ended just seconds later. 10-10 was the tie, and a dejected Mike Lantry walked off the field. Michigan and Ohio State tied for the Big Ten title. Later that night, the Big Ten athletic directors voted to send Ohio State to the Rose Bowl, causing a storm of controversy among Michigan followers. A vote is no longer required. The rules have been changed so that the formula for going to the Rose Bowl is clearly spelled out.
And Michigan's captain down on the field right now, Rob Lytle, is signaling out. And the Wolverines have 3 men deep, Lytle, Clayton, and Smith. And kicking off is Tom Skladany. He approaches. It's end over end, and it looks as though Jimmy Smith is going to watch it go out of the end zone. Tom Skladany has an educated toe here today. And look at that Ohio State man down at the 20-yard line. Grab that Wolverine by the arm and just throw him to the ground. Boy, I tell you, these fellas ask no quarter and they give no quarter. This is for blood out here, and this is going to be the doggonest 30 minutes of football. Michigan offensively has Rob Lytle at tailback, Russell Davis at fullback, Jimmy Smith at the wing, Ricky Leach at quarterback, Johnson and Stevenson at the ends, Ken and Dufek at the tackles, Lewis and Donahue at the guards, with Walt Dining over the ball at center. Wide to the right, Jimmy Smith. Wide to the left, Kurt Stevenson. Lytle deep and Davis close, 1st and 10 on their own 20-yard line. Ricky Leach looks over a tight 5-2. That's a 70 front. And then Ricky Leach keeps it. He's up over the 25. He twists to the 28-yard line. 8 yards on the first play of the second half after Ohio State's Tom Skladany booted the ball out of sight way beyond the goalpost at the north end, the closed end of this Horseshoe Stadium. And we are all set with Michigan 2nd and 2 from their own 28-yard line. The Wolverines in the first quarter, as you know, picked up 3 first downs. Ohio State countered with zip. Michigan picked up another 4 first downs in the second quarter. Ohio State equaled that with 4 first downs. Ohio had 108 yards in the first half, Michigan 107. Michigan 2nd and 2, Davis deep, Lytle has it. He does not get anywhere, he loses a yard. Actually, I don't think he lost a yard. He's just about where the ball was after Ricky Leach took it on the first play. So it'll be 3rd down and 2. And Nick Bonamici, with 80 tackles coming into the ball game, has just made his 4th individual tackle this afternoon. He's had 2 assists in the first half of this ball game. Ohio State with a 5-man front. Danzler, Beeman, Brown, Bonamici, and Brodzinski. Looking that over is Ricky Leach, 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Lytle deep and Davis close. A 3rd down situation, 3rd and 2 at their own 28-yard line. Ricky Leach keeps the ball. He hands off to Davis. First down, Michigan, over the Wolverine 30-yard line. Russell Davis has been a real workhorse here this afternoon. He has borne the brunt of Michigan's attack. As since the Wolverines have not completed a pass here this afternoon, Ohio State is 1 for 5. Ricky Leach is zipped for 5. So the Wolverines, 107 yards, are all on the ground, and I would guess, although I haven't seen it, that Russell Davis has most of those yards on the ground. Actually, the 2 stars in the game, Tom Skladany's punting and Jimmy Smith's punt returns. Smith wide to the right, along with Stevenson. It's the I formation. Lytle deep and Davis close. 1st and 10 on their own 31-yard line. Pitches off to Lytle. He's up over the 30, cuts the 35, down to the 40, to 45, and he is dropped there. First down, Michigan. The Maize and Blue have taken the second half kickoff after it was out of the end zone from the Wolverine 20, and they have picked up their 2nd first down here in the second half. Their 9th first down of the ball game. They have it 1st and 10 on their own 45-yard line, and the momentum right now is Maize and Blue on this beautiful November afternoon. This sun-swept tartan surface with 88,000 fans here in attendance. 60 million on TV along with you and me, and we're anxiously awaiting these final 28 minutes of play. Lytle deep and Davis close, 1st and 10, and there it is up over the 37-yard line. He picks up about 2 yards on the play. Russell Davis brought down by Aaron Brown, the nose guard, the middle man on that 5-man front. Ohio State's front 5 right now, averaging defensively 230 pounds a man. Michigan offensive front goes at 232. Give the Wolverines a plus of 2 pounds per man, which means absolutely nothing. But it does mean something when you have quickness. All 7 of those men you're seeing right now going over the ball can break the 40-yard, can do it under 5 seconds flat. There's Lytle deep and Davis close at 2nd down and 8 at their own 38-yard line. Right. It keeps it. Leach keeps up over the midfield stripe to the Ohio State 48-yard line, maybe the 47-yard line. Scrambling, good option play that time as Ricky Leach reading the defense beautifully, as he did on Michigan's drive in the first half, where he moved from his own 21 all the way down to the Buckeye 32-yard line, where on 4th down, Michigan failed to pick it up. The only threat Ohio had, they moved down to the Wolverine 10-yard line, where Pacena's pass was intercepted by Jerry Ufer in the Wolverine end zone for a touchback, and that's been the story of the ball game, except the booming punts of Tom Skladany, 6 of them at an average of 51 yards a kick. Lytle deep and Davis close, 3rd and 3 at the Ohio State 47-yard line. There is a broken play, and Ricky Leach is going to make the first down to the 40, the 35. He cuts away to the 30. He's down to the 26-yard line. Ricky Leach, beautiful running by that sophomore. Donald Lundo, that was a broken play, and it couldn't have been more developed or better handled than Ricky handled that one.
Certainly was, Bob, and it was good, quick thinking. That's the thing that can kind of be the break in the ball game that we're talking about, and there was one right there, and good, quick thinking by Leach, and a fine, fine run.
So now, bring out the Wolverines. Up over the ball offensively, here comes Walt Downing. Wide to the left this time is Kurt Stevenson. Jimmy Smith at the slot on tight on the left side. Lytle deep and Davis close, 1st and 10 on the Buckeye 26-yard line. Under center is Ricky Leach. He's looking at an 8-man front, and then he rolls out to the right. He pitches forward to Lytle, and Lytle's down to the 20, down to the 15-yard line. Nobody called it, but boy, that looked forward to me, Lundo, as he pitched that ball out to Rob Lytle. We're right at the 25-yard line, and that's just where he pitched it. First down, Michigan. That's a Buckeye 16-yard line. This is the furthest penetration by Michigan. They have taken the second half kickoff just as they did in 1973. With a score 10-10 at halftime, Michigan took the second half kickoff, and I'm not going to remind you that Dennis Franklin had his heart broken as the Buckeyes intercepted in the Ohio State end zone to stop the drive, but Michigan came back with 10 more points to tie up the game. Ohio State led 10-0 at the half. Now it's 0-0 at the half. Michigan has it 1st and 10 at the Buckeye 16-yard line. There goes Lytle down the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6-yard line. Rob Lytle, Smith from Fremont, Ohio, ran down the center of the Buckeye defense like a penguin with a hot herring in his cummerbund, all the way down to the Buckeye 6-yard line. The ball rests 21 yards in from this, the western sideline. Lewis, Downing, and Donahue blocking their hearts out up front. Those unsung heroes in the trench up front offensively are all set with 2nd and 1 at the Buckeye 7-yard line. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Wide to the left is Jimmy Smith. Lytle deep and Davis close. And Ricky Leach under center at quarterback on the long count. And he heads off to Lytle, and Lytle's hit right there at the 7-yard line. And boy, is he hit at the 7-yard line. He is racked up in there by Brodzinski along with Bonamici and Aaron Brown, and Ohio State is putting up a great defensive goal line stand. This is the same end of the field that in the closing 3 minutes in 1972, Michigan had a 1st and goal at the Buckeye 4-yard line. Just where they have it now, only it's at the hash line at the 7-yard line instead of the 4. In 4 plays, they couldn't do it. Now they have 3rd and 1 at the Ohio State 7. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Lytle deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center. He's looking at a 9-2 defensive line. He pulls Ohio State offside, and Lytle gets the 1st down. But more important, Michigan's Rob Lytle, after taking the ball, looked up, and he has a smile right now, and he says to Ricky Leach, he says, sophomore or not, baby, you called that one. Ohio State now, it looks as though there will be a penalty, and it looked to me as though it was against Ohio because Ricky Leach changed his cadence on the snap under center. He pulled the Buckeyes offside. Ricky Leach did that down at Purdue on their sustained drive before they missed the field goal, but he kept that drive alive. He's picked up an automatic 1st down via the penalty route. Rob Lytle had it anyway, and now Michigan has the ball just where they had it 4 years ago in the closing 4 minutes of the ball game. Hang on to your maize and blue hats. Up over the ball is Walt Downing. The line follows 2 tight ends in a balanced line. It's Lytle deep and Davis close. The I formation 1st and goal at the 3.5-yard line. Ricky Leach under center. He's taking a long count, and he's giving the ball. Davis scores! Russell Davis going berserk into the end zone. The Bo George Patton Schembechler scoring horn finds Russell Davis rambling in for his 5th touchdown of 1976. He has had 7 in his career. He has 5 this year and 2 last year as a freshman, and he'll never forget this one here on this beautiful November afternoon, November 20th to be exact of 1976, when the 2 teams battled to a scoreless tie in the first half, and then Davis climaxed an 80-yard drive as he went all the way down into the end zone from the 3-yard line. Zuber is going out. He's holding. Bobby Wood kicks. There it is. The old Patton scoreboard shows Michigan 7. The Buckeyes zip. The momentum is maize and blue, and we have a halo of maize and blue right here at the stadium, and over this, the Michigan Football Network. Of Michigan's 97-year history of intercollegiate football, 80 yards and 11 plays, the momentum is maize and blue. But remember, it's not all over. Oh, how well we remember last year with 7 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Ricky Leach went into the Buckeye end zone, and Ohio State hadn't had a 1st down in 38 minutes. And those Buckeyes, those big, bad, hairless nuts from here in Columbus, scored twice. This game is far from being over. Michigan had the ball 6 minutes and 11 seconds. That's Schembechler's football. That's the old George Patton on the ground. Momentum, ball control. The big play in the 80-yard drive was the broken play by Ricky Leach, who broke, didn't hand off. The man wasn't there. He turned around and came down to the Ohio State 26-yard line from the Buckeye 43, and then he pulled Ohio offsides on a dramatic situation at the 6-yard line, and then Russell Davis went in untouched, unblemished for 6 big ones. Here comes Bobby Wood, and it's end over end. It's not a good kick. It hits on the 15. It rolls down to the 10. It's taken by Springs. Springs is at the 15. He's hit by Moeller's Monsters at the 17-yard line. Coming down underneath that, Greer, Mackel, DeSenes, Pickens, Podek, Sebron, Howard, you name it, they were all in on that. It's an aroused band, the Wolverines right now, leading the Buckeyes, a stunned, hushed crowd. of 84,000 fans. They got 10,000 alumni and 74,000 truck drivers here with 4,000 Michigan alums. That's the composite of this 88,000 here in the Horseshoe right now. It's Logan Deep and Johnson close, and there goes Pacenta, and he hands off to Johnson. Oh, man, as he wrestled back to the 15-yard line. Tedesco, Morton, and Hennessy driving in. That Chicago, Illinois senior hurls that big number 71 through that trench up front. He knocked down co-captain Bill Lukens, and he teamed up with Morton and Tedesco, and they dropped that big 255-pound fullback. Boom! That's what you say, putting the kick in the pigskin. Up over the ball comes Mark Lang. The line follows its balance. 2 wide outs. It'll be Hyatt along with Harrell. There is Pacenta back. He's hit back there, and he swallows the ball at the 14-yard line. We weren't going to call that too quick, Lendo, because in the first half, Pacenta scrambled out 3 different times on similar situations, and I imagine Gary Moeller talked to his defense about that, saying, get those arms out, grab that guy, because he is a scrambler.
You're right, Bob, and he had faked once, he faked twice, and apparently there just wasn't anybody available, and finally we prevailed, the defense prevailed, and knocked him down. So Moeller told him correctly, and you told Moeller that that was the thing to do, and so everything worked out well.
Okay, 80 yards in 11 plays. Lytle 5 times for 34 yards. Leach 3 times for 34 yards. Davis 3 times, and, of course, the big touchdown from the 3-yard line. There's a handoff to Logan. He's hit back there at the 14-yard line. Oh, who says football's not a game of emotions? Who says the old maize and blue daubers aren't sky high right now as Michigan's offense moved 80 yards in 11 plays, and then Bobby Wood kicked the extra point, and then Gary Moeller's Monsters came back out here, and they have stuffed Ohio State, and Scaldani will have to kick for the first time this afternoon in the Buckeye end zone. No, check, call it the goal line. He's right there in the shadow, literally and figuratively in the shadow of the Ohio State goalpost. There is the snap, a nice snap. Here it goes, another 50-yarder. Jimmy Smith at the Michigan 35. He takes it. It's up to the 40. He's hit at the 45 and dropped at the 47-yard line. Michigan leading in the ball game 7-0. The Wolverines have the ball on their own 47-yard line, and the complexion of the ball game has changed from the middle of the second period from scarlet and gray to early here in the second half to maize and blue. A 51-yard kick with a 12-yard return as Michigan's offense is in there. Hanlon's Hustlers up front, and Stobart's Stallions behind with Lytle deep, and Davis will be close, and Jimmy Smith will be on the wing, flank wide out to the right. Ricky Leach at quarterback, and it's all going to come to you over this, the Michigan 7-0 Football Network. And I tell you, it's a smiling band of crewmen we have here. Old Bill Pratula, he can remember his glory days back at Michigan, one of the 7 Oak posts of Fritz Chrysler's team in 1942. And then one of the Mad Magicians of the greatest team Michigan had until this year, the 1947 Mad Magicians. It's Lytle deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach is under center. Smith is tight on the right side at the slot. There goes Ricky Leach. He's rolling out. He pitches off the line of the midfield stripe. The Ohio State 40 down to the Buckeye 36-yard line. Majestically rolls the big blue machine, blocking up front the backside guard. You know who it was. Last year's captain who ate his heart out all through the first part of this year. Kirk Lewis pulling out, leading Rob Lytle, 2 captains in their own year, and Kirk Lewis threw the key block that moved Lytle over the 45-yard line of Ohio State down to the Buckeye 36. Michigan leads in the ball game 7-0. Wide to the left goes Jimmy Smith. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. This Lytle deep and Davis close, and under center is Ricky Leach. A draw play to Lytle. He's over the 35, twisting and turning that little frame of his. Boy, I think this Rob Lytle could run 15 minutes in a phone booth and never touch the sides. That's how elusive he's being here this afternoon. That little rascal. Well, remember when we had on tape 2 games ago, we said, Rob, you've had a fantastic career. You've had 3 years at Michigan. What's been your biggest thrill? If you heard the tape, Rob Lytle said, Mr. Ufer, I'm looking forward to my biggest thrill in 4 years of football on November 20th, right down in Columbus, Ohio. Well, that day is here. Michigan has the ball, 2nd and 6 on the Buckeye 32-yard line. Let's say Mr. Lytle is deep. And there's Davis up over the 30, the 29. Russell Davis is playing football personified here today, the workhorse, a la Ohio State fashion. You know, Lundo, Ohio State has always had a great fullback. Then they have the elusive halfback and the very, very elusive quarterback to go around him. And that's been the story of Michigan's attack here. It's been that Russell Davis carrying the ball, wearing him down. And then Ricky Leach, great option playing, running on that broken play on that 80-yard touchdown drive. Then Ricky Leach pulling him off sides. And then Rob Lytle going now, hell-bent for election down this Maud side. It'll be 3rd down and 2. Lytle deep and Davis close, 2 tight ends in a balanced line, and Ricky Leach looks at an 8-man front. And then he goes back and gives to Lytle. He has a first down to the Buckeye 23-yard line. Lytle has carried the ball 19 times for 106 yards. Rob Lytle, he's already joined Gordy Bell and Ron Johnson as the only 3 backs to ever gain over 1,000 yards in 2 successive years at Michigan. And even though Ohio has had some great halfbacks, they've only had 1 back. And you know who that is. Old Archie Griffin. He's the only back to ever run over 1,000 yards in 2 successive years. Michigan has had Johnson, Bell, and now Rob Lytle. 1st and 10 for Michigan at the Buckeye 23-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close. Davis has the ball, and he barreled right there at the 20-yard line. Call it the 20.5-yard line. Aaron Brown in there at the middle guard. It is a hushed, subdued Ohio State crowd. Oh, how we remember 10 years ago today right here in this stadium. The final score was Michigan 17, Ohio State 3. 20 years ago in this stadium, the final score with Ron Kramer and Terry Barr, Michigan 19, Ohio State 0. And 30 years ago today, Fritz Chrysler's Mad Magicians 58, Ohio State 6. Right now in 76, 30 years later, it's 7-0 Michigan, 2nd and 7 on the Buckeye 20-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close. Michigan goes offside. Too quick that time. I believe it was Kirk Lewis. He just zoomed out there. Well, he's a little older than the rest of the fellas. He's been playing 5 years now. He took that extra. What do I mean? He's actually in med school. He's probably, IQ-wise, one of the smartest players on the whole Michigan team. But time he missed the signal. And wait a minute, this is all conjecture on Ufer's part. Down on the field, they're settling what's going on. The referee is talking to both captains. The Ohio State captain on defense happens to be Thompson, Ed Thompson, number 9. He's checking things over with Rob Lytle. And it looks as though Michigan might have a penalty assessed against them. They do. Illegal procedure against Kirk Lewis on the left side. The guard jumped before the ball was snapped. So the down box will be 2nd. And now it'll be 12. 2nd and 12. This ball game is far from being over. Remember, Ufer, keep things in its proper perspective. 1,000 years from now, no one will know who won or lost this ball game. That's the way we got to think. Come on, you quiet down. 2 men wide to the right. That's Stevenson and Jimmy Smith. It's Lytle deep and Davis close. 2nd and 12 on the 27. There's the end around to Jimmy Smith. He's got 3 blockers down the 25, the 20, the 15, down the 10, the 9-yard line. Beautifully conceived and equally well executed. Michigan had a beautiful play worked out all week long, and Stobart Stallions executed with precision. Shaken up on the play was Walt Downing, the Coatesville, Pennsylvania junior playing center. He was shaken up on the play, but Michigan shook Ohio State up on that beautiful trick play as the flow went to the right. And then instead of pitching to Rob Lytle going to the right, it's Jimmy Smith coming back from the left, took the pitch, had 2 linemen out there in front of him, went down the eastern sideline. 1st and goal to go. The 9 hardest yards in football inside the opponent's 10-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close, 2 tight ends in a balanced line. There's Lytle, he's down the 10, 9, the 8 to 7-yard line. Rob Lytle is at the 7-yard line. The clock shows 3 minutes and 2 seconds remaining in the 3rd period. Michigan 7 big points. Oh, me, oh, my. The ball rests midway between the sidelines. Right, Ufer, settle down. This ball game is not over. Remember last year, it was 14-7 with 7 minutes to go, and Ohio still won. Fritz Chrysler used to say it's 0-0 at any time in the ball game. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Lytle deep and Davis close. It's the I formation. It'll be 2nd down and 7. There's Russell Davis with the ball. He's over the 5, the 4, the 3-yard line. Beautiful deception on that play as Russell Davis picking him up and laying him down. God bless his cotton-picking Mason Blue Heart. He has been a workhorse down there. He's only a sophomore. Can you visualize Davis deep and Huckabee even deeper on the I formation 2 years from now down at that Golden Dome in South Bend, Indiana? For the first time in 35 cotton-picking years, Michigan's going to play those Fighting Irish. Oh, how well we remember that series in 42 and 43. Come on, Ufer. Let's get back to 1976. Michigan has the ball. 3rd down, 3 yards to go on the Ohio State 3-yard line. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. It's Rob Lytle deep and Russell Davis close and Ricky Leach under center. And there is Davis down to the 5. There it is. It is a touchdown. Oh, Russell Davis. Oh, sure, cotton picking, maize and blue heart from all the way down in Virginia. They're going to hear about this from coast to coast. From the coast of Lake Michigan to the coast of Lake Huron, it's Russell Davis in for his second touchdown of the afternoon. 52 yards in 9 plays, and the first time it was 80 yards in 11 plays. Michigan leads 13 to zip, and Jerry Ufer is kneeling at the 10-yard line. Calm down, Ufer, calm down. It's spotted. He rolls out to the right. He's going to run with the ball, and he has 2 points. He has 2 points. Oh, Bo Schembechler. Joe Falls, who says he plays dull and boring football. We got to get Joe Falls. He's bored to death up here reading Dale Carnegie's book on how to win friends and influence people. Good old Joe. Did you see that deception, Joe? Did you see Bo Schembechler, who you say never pulls a trick play? Did you see Jerry Ufer have the whole field open? That reminds us of the old fake field goal, Lundo, that Fritz Chrysler used to use. Freddie Trosco beat Ohio State with it in 1939. And then I remember Don Robinson on the fake field goal talking about Notre Dame at South Bend in 1942. And that play with the kneeling quarterback is kneeling there in the 10. Bobby Wood went through with a fake kick. Jerry Ufer picked it up, rolled around to his right, had 2 men in front of him, went right into the end zone. And Michigan has a 15-0 lead. Donald?
Also, on that same play, Jimmy Smith was all alone in the end zone, so that kind of kept them back. They couldn't react. Had they reacted to Ufer, I think he would have just dumped the ball to him, just a little toss. So he had the 2 options going, so it was a well-conceived trick play.
And well executed. Beautifully executed. You know, this Jerry Ufer, they wondered whether he could fill the shoes of All-American Don Dufek. Incidentally, we talked to Don Dufek. Do you know he blocked a punt against the Minnesota Vikings last week? He made 7 solo tackles and had 5 assists on the specialty team against the Minnesota Vikings last week. Donnie Dufek out there with those Seattle Seahawks is really making a name for himself in his first year in pro football. But the fellow that filled his shoes, Jerry Ufer, has 5 interceptions. He just ran for a 2-point conversion on a beautifully executed, well-conceived play, as Don Lundo tells us just a few moments ago. There's Bobby Wood kicking for the end zone, end over end. It's going to be a touchback, automatic touchback. And do you want to know how Michigan moved 52 yards in 9 plays? Lytle, the All-American tailback, carried 4 times for 29 yards. Smitty carried once for 14 yards. Davis carried 4 times for 14 yards. And Michigan, in spite of a 5-yard penalty, still overcame the penalty, rambled down, and Russell Davis went in from the 3-yard line. That's 2 3-yard touchdown runs for Russell Davis. That gives Mr. Davis 8 on his career. It gives him 6 in this, his sophomore year. And Michigan football has never been brighter. The maize and blue is standing out all over those white uniforms. Moeller's Monsters dig in, and Pacenta, number 15, checks his team, rolls out to the right. He's dropped back there for a loss at the 16-yard line. 84,000 Ohio fans are stunned. They're hushed. They're silent. This is almost like the sight of a funeral. Well, listen, I want you football fans to stay with us, because we're going to have the doggonedest funeral service at the end of this podcast that you have ever heard. I promise you, giggles, tee-hee, and ha-ha. If Michigan can continue leading in the game and win it with 1 minute and 16 seconds remaining, there's Pete Johnson taking the fake. Pacenta, the 20, the 25, the 30, the 31-yard line. Beautiful broken play by Pacenta. I'm not sure it really was broken, because he faked to Pete Johnson, then kept the ball. And Savacco, the pulling backside guard, moved out there and chopped down Michigan's linebacker, and that opened up a big hole for Pacenta, who rambled up over the 25, the 30, and Ohio State has just picked up their first down of the second half with 1 minute and 2 seconds remaining in the third period. Up over the ball comes Mark Lang. Moeller's Monsters dig in with a 5-2-4. It's Herman Jones wide to the left. There is a throw-out pass, and it is knocked down. Beautifully knocked down in there, incomplete. It's Jerry Ufer in there again with 5 interceptions, and that time he just moved in. He couldn't intercept it, but he deflected it away from the intended receiver, Jimmy Harrell. Actually, Ohio State, passing-wise, they have completed 1 for 6. Michigan is zipped for 5, although Michigan did end up catching a pass. It was an interception of a Buckeye pass, a real key interception in the Michigan end zone by Jerry Ufer to stop what appeared to be a certain 3 points by Ohio State in the final 2 minutes of that first half. 2 men wide out to the left, Hyatt and Harrell. There is Pacenta back. He shakes the would-be tackler, throws downfield. It's caught at the 48-yard line by Harrell, and he's dropped immediately by Dwight Hicks. And so Ohio State, not to be outdone, let me tell you, this ball game is not over. It's Michigan 15, Ohio State zip, and 45 seconds remaining in the third period, and then we have 15 minutes. And is there any way to move time forward, Lendo?
I would say not, but sometimes you like to do those things, but I got confidence in our boys. They'll keep battling away.
Okay, 2 men wide out to the left. That's Harrell and Jones. There's Pacenta back for pass again. Cocks his arm. He's throwing way downfield, and it is knocked down. Knocked down, beautiful knockdown in there by Dwight Hicks and Jim Bolden. The intended receiver was Jimmy Harrell, and naturally those 74,000 truck drivers thought that was pass interference. No way was that pass interference. Why, my goodness, Mrs. Hicks has always taught her son, and Mrs. Bolden has taught her son Jimmy, to always watch the ball on a pass play, because otherwise, son, you will be called for pass interference. And so those boys both looked around. They tipped the ball out of the hands of Jimmy Harrell, and it goes as an incompleted forward pass. Ohio State right now is 2 for 8 in forward passes. They have the ball, 2nd and 10, on their own 48-yard line. Wide to the right is Logan. 1 man back, that's Johnson. 2 men out to the left. A rollout play-action pass, and he's going to run, and he's going to be trapped at the 40-yard line. And moving in there was Mr. Akron, Ohio, all Big Ten last year and slated to be all Big Ten, Greg Morton, number 77. Alex Agassi told us that Greg Morton was without question the finest defensive tackle in the Big Ten this year. And Alex Agassi is some kind of a football coach. If you don't believe it, ask him what the score was of the Michigan-Purdue game this year. Ohio State calls timeout, and we call a very maize and blue 15-0 time in for a word from your host, who is enjoying bringing you this ball game over this, the Michigan Football Network. Ufer and Donland all set to bring you the final 3 seconds of the third period, and then 15 big minutes of the fourth period, and then stay with us, because God darn it, we got a big final show planned at the end of this ball game. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. But right now, let's take a look at a few things here. On first downs, Michigan has 15. Ohio State has 6. In passes, well, it's been a ground game for old George Patton today. He hasn't gone to the Luftwaffe at all. Ricky Leach has gone back 5 times, and he can come up with a big zip. Ohio State has passed 8 times, completed 2, and had 1 intercepted by Michigan's Jerry Ufer. Wide to the right is Jones. 1 man back is Johnson. He's blocking for Pacenta. Pacenta's back there, and he's going to be chased, and he's going to eat it. No, he throws upfield, and it's caught. It's caught at the 42-yard line. A beautiful catch up there by Jeff Logan. Boy, I'll tell you, that's passing under pressure. You got to give that youngster, Jim Pacenta from Akron, Ohio, the quarterback of Ohio State, a lot of credit. He passed with extreme pressure, 3 men on him, and he threw it up that western sideline or eastern sideline. He caught it. He fell out of bounds, and I believe that is the last play of the third period. They're moving the ball down, and I believe that's the last play of the third period, and we're going to pause for a quarter-time message. It's 4th down and a yard to go. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Full house tee. Johnson flanked by Logan and Harrell. Johnson has the first down, but there's a flag on the play. There's a flag on the play, and I don't know whether Michigan was offside or whether Ohio was offside. And offside against Michigan. So Ohio will take the penalty because Johnson only picked up 2 yards on the run. Oh, this ball game is far from being over, believe me. Don't get premature, Ufer, doggone it. Remember what we said. Keep it in its proper perspective. 1,000 years from now, no one will know whether Michigan or Ohio State won the ball game. Michigan's leading now 15-0. Ohio State has just picked up a first down. It happens to be their first of the fourth period, their 7th of the ball game. Michigan has 15 first downs and 15 points. Michigan had 133 yards in the third quarter. Ohio State had 33 passing, none rushing. There is Pacenta, flags on the play, and there is a fumble, and it's recovered by Michigan. Michigan recovers an Ohio State fumble, but wait a minute, there's a flag on the play. There's a flag on the play, and I believe it was Ohio State offside, so Michigan will refuse the penalty and take the fumble. Donald.
I got it, Bob. It was their right flanker or end that moved. It was a legal procedure offside, whatever you want to call it. We'll take the ball.
That's right, and Michigan's defense has just picked up. The Wolverines defense has just picked up their 31st turnover of the year. They've had 2 here this afternoon, a pass interception that stopped Ohio State cold in the second period from what appeared to be possibly a touchdown and a sure 3 points to end that first half. And now it was recovered in there. I couldn't see. Bill Petrula thinks that Steve Graves recovered. But be that as it may, the main thing is Michigan stopped Ohio State again when the Buckeyes seemed to get a little momentum. Their passing game has come alive here because Lord knows they haven't had anything on the ground in the third period. Absolutely no yardage. 33 yards in the air in the third period to Michigan's 133 yards on the ground. The Wolverines have 15 points. 14 minutes remaining in the ball game. Lytle deep and Davis close. It's the I formation with Ricky Leach under center. It's Smitty at the slot on the tight side on the left. There is Rob Lytle. Oh, is he smothered, submarined, and grabbed and hurled to the ground at the 44-yard line. He picked up possibly a yard and a half at the most. Rob Lytle playing his last game of 1976 in a Michigan uniform. He will lead the Wolverines along with Calvin O'Neill to Pasadena, California, if they can maintain this 15-0 lead. Ball control here and the touchdown here would just about sew it up. 2 wide outs. That's Stevenson way out. Smitty at the slot out on the left side. Lytle deep and Davis close. It's 2nd and 9. There is the rollout, and Davis is over the 45, still scrambling to the 46-yard line, picking up about 2.5 yards. And here comes a third down situation. Let's check those over. Ohio has converted 2 first downs out of 10. Michigan's Ricky Leach has converted 5 third down situations out of 11. And therein lies the story of many a ball game. In third down situations, Ohio 2 out of 10, no points. Michigan 5 out of 12 and 15 points. Okay, 2 tight ends and a balanced line. It'll be 3rd down and 6. Lytle deep, Davis close. Jimmy Smith wide to the left. It's a 7-4 defense, and Ricky Leach keeps the ball, and he's going to go up over the midfield stripe, and he's out of bounds at the Buckeye 44-yard line. First down, Ricky Leach, and this sophomore quarterback from Flint really played that option play beautifully. Once again, there's a stunned crowd. If that run had taken place up in Ann Arbor, where incidentally Michigan set an attendance mark of an average of over 103,000 fans, attended all 7 Michigan games last year, or this fall, to break an all-time attendance mark that was set a year ago by Michigan in the 75 season, averaging 98,000. But if that last play had taken place up there, that roof would have gone off the stadium. 2 tight ends and a balanced line. Lytle deep and Davis close. 1st and 10 on the Buckeye 45-yard line. There's Davis with the ball, 44, 43, 41-yard line. There he is with that big bull with a bee in his ear. He just rambles in there. You know, he's not a little boy. He goes 220 pounds. He's 6'2", number 33. And you know that lad can move the 100 yards in about 9.8, and he was a state high jump champ. Can you imagine getting a 220-pound frame, 6'4" high, 6 feet 9 inches off the ground to high jump? He was a state champ down in Virginia. Okay, Michigan's all set now, 2nd and 6. They lead 15-0. They have the ball on the Buckeye 41-yard line. Lytle deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center, looking at a 5-2-4. Ricky Leach keeps the ball, pitches out to Huckabee. Huckabee is around the 40. He's cut down to the 35, down out of bounds at the 31-yard line. And Rob Lytle was decked after he'd gone out of bounds. And Ohio talks about cheap shots. You know, they said in the paper yesterday that Woody Hayes has a film of all his 25 years against Michigan and all the so-called cheap shots taken by Wolverines since 1951 when Woody took over as head coach here of the Buckeye School. And he tries to motivate his players. And he also, we understand that he had a little old piece of tape that some reporter up in Ann Arbor had the audacity to call him Dr. Adolph Strangehaze earlier this year, and Woody had that and used it in their locker room yesterday afternoon, and nobody got incensed except Woody himself, is from what I'm told. And so there's a timeout down in the playing field by Michigan. The Wolverines lead 15-0. This has been quite a series, you know, over the years, and we've had the pleasure personally of witnessing every Michigan-Ohio State football game since 1939. We have broadcast all of them since 1945. Gosh, I can remember that first game we broadcast. It was up in Ann Arbor against Ohio State, that is. That was the last game of the season. Ohio State led the whole ball game 3-0. We can see it yet at the northern end of the field. Little Hank Fondy was playing right halfback, took a reverse from the fullback on the old single wing, went into the end zone. Michigan beat the Buckeyes 7-3. That was the first time we broadcast a Michigan-Ohio State game. The one we'll never forget was 26 years ago, the infamous Snowball game. Michigan didn't complete a pass. They didn't pick up a first down all afternoon. Vic Jenowitz, the Heisman Award winner that year, took the opening kickoff, moved the Buckeyes down in 6 inches of snow, and kicked a 38-yard field goal with gym shoes on, and that looked good as gold because neither team had a first down after that, and Ohio led 3-0, and then Tony Momsen blocked one, Al Wall blocked one into the Buckeye end zone right down here at the southern end of the field, and the miracle of that Snow Bowl put Michigan in the Rose Bowl. And as we said on that record we made, the late and great Fielding H. Yost was smiling down on his #1 pupil, Benny Osterbahn, as the Wolverines utilized a punt and a prayer, 26 of each, to win that weird game. But they won that and went out and defeated a far superior California team 14-6 in the Rose Bowl. Michigan has the ball, 1st and 10. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close, the I formation, 2 tight ends. And it is Davis up over the 30-yard line. Russell Davis again, the workhorse this afternoon, along with Rob Lytle, the tandem of the eye, because you can't say that the aerial game has been effective for Michigan. The Wolverines have not completed a pass. They've only thrown 5, but it's been the ground forces of old George Patton Schembechler. He's had that scoring horn blasting here, 2 touchdowns, an extra point, and a beautifully executed 2-point extra point run by Jerry Zuber. Rob Lytle's back in at the tailback. It's 2nd down and 8. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. There is Davis faking it. There's pitched out to Lytle. He's over the 30, down the 25, the 24, the 23-yard line. And remember, with 11 minutes remaining in the ball game, Ohio State is trying to keep intact the fact that they haven't been shut out in their last 123 ball games. They've gone 122 straight without being shut out. And if they're shut out here this afternoon, the last team to shut them out was Bump Elliott's Big Ten championship team 12 years ago here, 10-0, with Jimmy Detweiler and All-American quarterback Bob Timberlake teaming up. And I can remember well, they were moving to that end of the field. Timberlake threw a pass to Detweiler to give Michigan the 10-0 win. There's Lytle deep, Davis close. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach under center at the 23-yard line. Lytle has it, squirms and wiggles his way to the 20-yard line. He has another first down. It's number 18 for Michigan. The Wolverines have 18 first downs, and Michigan has 15 big, glorious maize and blue points. Listen to George Cavender's band. They have won the battle of the bands. I'm sure Bob Foreman pointed that out at halftime. George Cavender, one of the finest conductors in the business, in his sixth year at Michigan, filling the shoes of the old legendary Bill Ravelli. He was tops in his day, and now George Cavender likewise here in the 1970s. There's Russell Davis again over the 20, down to the 17-yard line, as Ohio State's defense is sort of exhausted, sort of worn out. Jimmy the Greek said Michigan by 3.5 points. The scoreboard says Michigan 15, Ohio State 0. Ohio State 0. Don't get locked in on that, Ufer. Ohio State 0. Michigan has 15. The ball is resting 18 yards in from the eastern sideline. You don't mind if I laugh, do you? I've cried for 4 straight years at this Ohio game. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Lytle deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center at quarterback. He rolls out to the right. He gives it to Davis, and Davis is still on his feet. Now he's dropped right there at the 16-yard line. Aaron Brown, the middle guard. Boy, Brown was in there beautifully. Ohio's defense, that was the blue chip they came into this ball game with. They're not giving up. And Woody Hayes, old Dr. Strange Hayes, he's kind of worried with his test tubes down here on this western sideline, a little bit shaken at the moment. He's had his day against Bo Schembechler. Oh, boy, has he had his day. The ball is resting 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Wide to the left comes Kurt Stevenson. Following him out is Jimmy Smith at the slot. It's Lytle deep and Davis close. It's 3rd and 6, and there is Ricky Leach back for a pass. He throws downfield, and it is intercepted, I believe, by Ohio State at the 11-yard line. Tom Roche intercepts, and the Buckeyes pick up their first turnover of the afternoon as Ricky Leach has taken to the air 6 times. He's completed 1, and that was against the grain, and that was into the hands of the Ohio State defensive halfback. So the Buckeyes stop the Wolverines here with 9 minutes and 28 seconds remaining in the ball game. Michigan leads 15-0. The ball rests 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. But Michigan's defense right now, let's check them over as they move in, having gotten their instructions from Gary Moeller, the defensive coordinator. Sebron, Hennessy, Graves, Morton, and Tedesco. Ufer at the wolf spot. Vogley and O'Neill backing it up. The two halfbacks are Bolden and Pickens, and Dwight Hicks at safety. Michigan's coaches want this ball game. Ohio State and Michigan, the big two of the Big Ten. Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler. Woody overall has won 221 ball games. He's lost only 64. He's been winning at the rate of 77.5%. And Bo Schembechler overall as a head coach has won 115, lost 27, winning at the rate of 81%. It's Logan deep. Pacenta's back for a pass. Pacenta throws downfield. Ufer has it at the 25, down to the 20, down to the 15. Ufer has interception number 6 for his senior year, and Jerry Ufer, who just a few moments ago picked up a 2-point extra point conversion on a beautifully conceived extra point play, has just electrified 4,000 fans, all 6 men in the booth here, and the 54-man traveling squad over on the eastern sideline. Old General Bo has a smile from ear to ear. Millie, if you're listening, there is joy here in this snake pit on that eastern sideline. Bring out the cookies, Millie. Daddy's coming home with a victory. Tens in tight in a balanced line. Lytle deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center, and he gives to Lytle. He's down the 15, 10, 5, 4-yard line. Oh, Ricky Leach hands off to Rob Lytle, and Lytle in his last year against his former teammate Brzezinski wants to win this game as bad as any football game has ever wanted to be won by an individual player. Rob Lytle came from Fremont, Ohio to Ann Arbor 4 years ago. He has never beaten Ohio State. He is the greatest runner in the history of Michigan football, and it would be justice if he gets the ball for this touchdown. The ends are in tight in a balanced line. Ricky Leach under center. Not much noise from the crowd. Lytle deep and Davis close. A 9-man front looking at Ricky Leach, and Ricky Leach gives to Davis. Is hit at the 3-yard line. Russell Davis is down. It was 1st and goal to go at the 5. It'll be 2nd and 3 to go with Michigan leading in the ball game 15-0. Oh, Michigan won 10 years ago 17-3, and now they lead 15-0, and they're threatening. And look at those 256 Michigan bandsmen over there. Go blue, go blue. And of course, we're very impartial as usual. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach asks for the crowd to settle down as he hands off to Rob Lytle, and it is! There it is! Oh, Rob Lytle picks up touchdown number 28 on his career. He has picked up 15 touchdowns in this, his All-American season. He has climaxed a great big Michigan afternoon, giving the Wolverines 21 maize and blue points on that little stinking scoreboard that's been here since Yost came here to dedicate this stadium in 1922. I remember well, Yost stood there and said, my goodness, they should have a bigger scoreboard, and they haven't changed it since. Kneeling is Jerry Ufer at the 10. It's spotted. It's end over end. And, oh, Bobby Wood on the season makes it 87 out of 91. And Bobby Wood has just tied Dana Coyne for the most extra points in a Michigan season with 55. And it would be well that these 2 great kickers for Michigan, Dana Coyne in 1971, on the team that scored 421 points. And right now, Michigan has 426 points. The Wolverines have 426 points on the season. This is the most points ever run up by any Big Ten school since Yost teams back at the turn of the century. Bo Schembechler's team ran up 421 points in a 12-game season 5 years ago, and now Bo and his Big Blue machine have 426 cotton-picking points, an all-time record. And Ufer, let's keep everything in its proper perspective. Remember, 1,000 years from now, no one will know who won, but let me tell you something. Everybody knows who's leading right now, 22-0. The entire football world. I hope the University of Pittsburgh is watching this, and I hope Joe Paterno, who is a friend of Bo Schembechler, kind of returns the courtesy next Friday night and whips those Panthers. And then Michigan will move back into number one even before they beat UCLA in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. Bobby Wood approaches. It's an end-over-end kick, and it hits on the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5, and Logan takes it at the end zone. He's up to the 10, and he's hit at the 11 and dropped at the 12-yard line. Michigan 22, Ohio State zip. 8 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the ball game. Ohio State doesn't want to be shut out here because they will stop one game short of the Oklahoma all-time record of having gone 123 games without being shut out. The Buckeyes, I believe it's safe to say, Lundo, will not rack up their 18th straight Big Ten win. Right?
I would have to say that's true, Bob, and
Good.
I feel that way. And with 8 minutes and 10 seconds to go.
And you are impartial, Lundo.
8 minutes
the
and
only
10
man
seconds
in
to go.
Michigan history that lettered 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball in 1 year at Michigan. A 9-letterman. He's impartial. Pacena's back, throws it, and incomplete at the 33-yard line. Storer, number 80, is the intended receiver. And Woody Hayes is talking to himself. Woody Hayes is a mumble-jumble. I don't believe he's going to break any yard markers, but I think it's fitting and proper that we give Woody Hayes his just desserts here at the close of this 1976 season. After all the anxieties he's given Michigan for the last 4 years, where Michigan has had every statistic but the one that counts, Michigan has lost 3 and tied 1. Ohio State, 2 men wide to the left. It's second down and 10. Pacena's back for pass. Throws downfield. It's caught at the 20. He's dropped at the 24-yard line. The big fullback, Pete Johnson, has just caught his 4th pass of 1976. He'd caught 3 coming into the ball game for 28 yards. Michigan leads 22-0. 7 minutes and 58 seconds remaining in the ball game. The Ohio State Buckeyes have it first and 10. And I think Moeller's Monsters are going to dig in now because I think that would be a lot of icing on the cake if Michigan can shut out the Buckeyes here in 1976. Jerry Ufer was the man who made the tackle on that last pass completion. Up over the ball comes Lang. Wide to the left is Harrell. Wide to the right is Jones. Pacena's back. He's being pressured. He is going to eat it right there at the 22-yard line. It's Steve Graves and Dom Tedesco. Lundo.
Bob, I think I've seen John Anderson in the game now, and I think the reason for that move versus Sebron is that the success that John has had all year at pass defense. He's intercepted, I don't have the exact statistic on it, but he's
intercepted 3.
Sure, so I see that he's in the ball game now, and I think he's in there primarily to drop back and protect on that one side.
Certainly he isn't in because he's a senior playing his last game because he's only a junior. Right. So I think your observation is absolutely correct, as it usually is, Mr. Landon. What's the score, Don?
22-0.
Who's ahead, Don?
Michigan.
That a boy. Say it right, Donald. Michigan. There he is. Pacena throws. Oh, it's caught at the midfield stripe at the 48-yard line of Ohio State. Dwight Hicks catches Harrell after he catches the ball. And Ohio State is not down and out yet. There are still 6 minutes and 49 seconds. And Ohio State would like nothing better than at least score some points here this afternoon. Dwight Hicks made the hit. Dwight Hicks coming into the ballgame with 41 tackles. Michigan's last scoring drive, 15 yards after Ufer intercepted his 6th interception of the year. It was 3 plays, Lytle twice for 14 yards, and, of course, the big one for the touchdown, Davis once for 1 yard. There's the handoff to the tailback Logan, and he's hit right there at the 49-yard line. 1st and 10, and Jeff Logan picks up about 1 yard. And, we don't have time to check the record book. But I believe, Jack, that with Ohio State not picking up any yards on the ground in the 3rd quarter, I don't believe they've had much here in the 4th quarter, and this is probably going to be one of the most stingy halves that Ohio State has ever been held to by a defensive team as far as running. -4 yards running this half. There's Logan. He picks up the 4 yards and gets 4 to boot as he picked up 8 yards on the play. From the 49-yard line of Ohio State to the 42-yard line of Michigan, Jeff Logan rubs out that 4-yard deficit coming into that last play and picked up 4 more. So there are 5 minutes and 58 seconds remaining on the digital scoreboard, that little thing hanging over there at the southeast corner on the tower. and it is a measurement here to see whether or not Ohio State has picked up their 9th first down of the ball game. Michigan has 19. Ohio State has 9. They're checking it here. Michigan's defensive captain, Calvin O'Neill. And it looks as though the Buckeyes are just shy. It's 3rd down and inches. 5 minutes and 58 seconds remaining. Hicks has been hurt. He was shaken up on the last play. Jimmy Pickens is in at safety and moved Derek Howard in now at the defensive halfback spot. These 11 men, and especially these front 5 and these 2 linebackers and Jerry Zuber and the halfbacks, Sebron, Hennessy, Graves, Morton, and Anderson up front, Meter and O'Neill at the linebacking spots, Vogeley's in right now, Zuber at the Wolf spot, Bolden and Howard at the halfbacks, and Jimmy Pickens at safety, going to try and keep Ohio from picking up a first down, but more important, from picking up a score. There's a full house tee, and it's Pete Johnson. He needed about 6 inches, and he got 1.5 yards, and there's timeout down in the playing field. And I believe Ohio State has picked up their 10th first down of the ball game. They're going to measure. No, I don't even think they're going to measure. No, sir, that is for sure, as Calvin O'Neill nods his approval. The ball's resting just inside the 40-yard line, or rather outside the 40-yard line, away from the Wolverine goal. It's on about the 41-yard line. Up over the ball comes Mark Lang. The line follows. 1 man back, that's Johnson. 2 wide outs, it's Harrell and Jones. Back for a pass at the midfield stride. He stumbles, and he's hit right there, he being Pacena at the 46-yard line. Jim Pacena and Gary Meter coming in, making his 2nd sack of 1976. He'd made 1 in the previous 10 games for a 7-yard loss, and that was his 68th tackle of 1976. The number 1 tackler again this year for Michigan, with right now 141 tackles on the season. The number 1 tackler in the history of Michigan football. Last year, Calvin O'Neill, as a junior, made 151 tackles, a record number of tackles by any Michigan defenseman in their 97 years of football. 2 wide outs to the left. Pacena's back at the 42, over the center. It's incomplete to Pete Johnson. He trapped the ball at the 41-yard line. Actually, Pete Johnson was standing right at the original point of scrimmage on this series of downs. Ohio State now has a 3rd down and 15 coming up, as Pacena was trapped back there in the previous play for a 5-yard loss. And I'll tell you, Moeller's Monsters, if they can shut out Ohio State, they will tie Benny Oosterbaan and that national championship team of 1948. That's the last time a Michigan team has had 5 shutouts in a single year. Michigan has 4 shutouts now. They're going for their 5th. Pacena's back, cocks his arm. He's going to eat the ball back on the Buckeye 43-yard line. And Mr. Tom, maybe Skladany won't come in with only 4 minutes and 33 seconds remaining. And for the first time in 10 years at Ohio State, with a clock showing 4 minutes remaining, the stands are beginning to empty. Everyone is satisfied that Michigan truly is the number 1 football team in the United States. We told you that yesterday up there on J.P. McCarthy's show on WJR. And Michigan is number 1, and they're going to prove it even further when they get out there to Pasadena on January 1st. There's a snap back to Tom Skladany. There's another beautiful All-American kick. Jimmy Smith's going to let it bounce, and it's going to be down inside the Michigan. They allow it to go in the end zone. 5 Ohio State men standing there. Everybody says, no, you take it, no, you take it, Alphonse and Gaston, and it goes into the end zone. Automatic touchback. That's one of those situations where if it weren't for bad luck, Ohio wouldn't have had any luck at all on that one.
Well, that's much, it was a similar situation. When things go bad, they seem to do that, Bob. Do you recall at Purdue and that punt hit, and our guys were going down, and all of a sudden it hit improperly or properly, depending how you want, on the nose of the ball, and it flicked in the end zone quickly. And that you could almost sense that some of the things that are happening to you at that time.
That's right. Okay, Michigan has the ball 1st and 10 on their own 20-yard line. The score is Michigan 22, Ohio State nothing. It was 30 years ago that Fritz shut them out, 58-6. He didn't shut them out. Check. It was Benny who shut them out. Benny Oosterbaan, 19-0, 20 years ago. 30 years ago, Fritz decisively defeated them, 58-6. 10 years ago, the bumper beat them, 17-3. And now, Bo, George Patton, Schembechler. This has got to be his finest hour in 89 games here at Michigan. Millie, you just got to be feeling happy all over, because I tell you, your husband is down here He had 4 bypasses in the spring. He's going to have 1 more. He's going to bypass all the bowl games and go to the Rose Bowl. That'll be his 5th bypass of 1976. He's walking up and down there like old George Patton. All he needs is a riding crop over there. Is he happy along with Gary Moeller and Chuck Stobart and all those Michigan coaches who have worked their hearts and heads and hands and feet and bodies out all season long? There's Ricky Leach handing off to the fullback Lytle, and he's up over the 30, the 34-yard line. Rob Lytle picking him up and laying him down, as Rob Lytle last week set an all-time rushing record for Michigan. And now he's adding to that record as he's picked up this afternoon 164 yards and 28 carries. He will be everybody's All-American along with Tony Dorsett and Ricky Bell, and it's a toss-up on that 4th spot in the All-American backfield this year. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. There it is again, Rob Lytle up over the 35, the 38. And you know why old George Patton's allowing Lytle to run from the fullback now? Because this is the one game that Rob Lytle wanted to play more than any other in his career. The game where he came to Columbus and won. He was thwarted in his sophomore year in 1974. He was thwarted in his junior year up in Ann Arbor in 1975. But it's all maize and blue, and it's all coming up roses for Rob Lytle and his band of Wolverines right now. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Huckabee deep and Lytle close and Ricky Leach under center. Huckabee has it. He's up over the 40. He's up over the 45, and he cuts back in at the midfield stripe. He's down the 45, the 40, the 38-yard line, knocked out of bounds. Harlan Huckabee, who can move the 100 yards in 9.4. Had he gotten around that last man, Lundo, he would have been long gone, 67 yards for a touchdown.
To review that play, Bob, again, we have to give credit to our interior line. It was just a tremendous hole, and then plus his great speed in which he licked the first man, and then the second guy just had just a little too much of an angle on him, and he almost shook it to go all the way.
Well, and if you're watching on TV, you might notice the decals on the Michigan helmets. You know who has the most? The All-American. Rob Lytle has 30. Mo Morton has 24. Anderson, Hennessy, and Smith have 23. And Wood, Bobby Wood, has 21. Those are the leaders in the big plays this year. There's Huckabee again, 35. Down to 30, still on his feet at the 26-yard line. Harlan Huckabee all by himself with the help of a key block up front by Kirk Lewis, another block by Billy Dufek, and then he shook a tackle at the 28, and he was finally dropped at the 26-yard line. The ball is being brought in 18 yards, call it the 27-yard line. Michigan leads in the ball game 22-0. The ball rests 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Michigan in control. The Michigan Wolverines lead, 2 minutes and 13 seconds remaining. And now Lytle has come out of the ball game, and look at those Wolverine players surround their captain. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close. Stevenson wide to the left. Under center is Ricky Leach. It is 2nd down and 1, and it's given to Huckabee, and I don't think he has the 1 yard. He had to get 1, and I don't know whether he made it or not on 2nd and 1. While they're unpiling, let's pause for a final message during the game over this, the Michigan Football Network. Okay, Bob Ufer bringing you the final minute and 29 seconds. Harlan Huckabee up over the 25 to the 21. That was a first down they just measured while you were listening to our host here this afternoon. So Harlan Huckabee moves again over the 25 down to the 21-yard line. There are a minute and 15, 14 seconds, 13 seconds remaining. I want to see Woody Hayes go out and shake Bo Schembechler's hand. I want to watch that after 4 frustrating years. How well I remember Woody Hayes wouldn't shake Bump Elliott's hand. Look at those Wolverines over there. Oh, God bless their cotton-picking Mason blue hearts. I've seen a lot of Michigan victories. But I'll tell you, everyone seems bigger than the last one. But to those men in that particular year and in that particular game, that's been the greatest. Everything is relative. And to these 54 Michigan players here this afternoon, this is their finest hour of 1976. Michigan has called timeout down in the playing field. The Wolverines have Stacy Johnson in at quarterback. They have Russell Davis still in at fullback. It's Max Richardson at the wingback spot. It's Ralph Clayton in at tailback, I believe. We haven't checked out the fullback yet. Kevin King, number 36, is in at fullback. And it'll be a second-string backfield who will all be back. Remember I said there are only 2 seniors graduating on offense in the first 22. Lytle and Smith, and then defensively, of course, 2 great tackles go in Hennessy and Mo Morton. Bobby Lang, the middle guard, the great captain, all Big Ten, All-American linebacker Calvin O'Neill, Jerry Vogley playing a whale of a game here in his final game as a senior at Michigan in '76. And then, of course, the fine defensive halfback, the senior for Michigan, who happens to be Jimmy Bolden. But right now, under center is Johnson. It'll be 2nd and 6. He has Clayton deep and King close, 2 tight ends, and Clayton has the ball. He's down to the 20. He's down to the 15-yard line. Ralph Clayton from Detroit, a freshman, 6'3", 210 pounds, number 27. Remember that number. You're going to see a lot of him in 1977 and 78. This afternoon, Lytle carried the ball 29 times for 168 yards, Huckabee 5 times for 43 yards, Leach 9 times for 49 yards, Smith 1 time for 14 yards, Davis 24 times for 92 yards. Davis with 92 yards, Lytle with 168. Johnson carried 8 times for 19 yards, Logan 16 times for 68 yards, Pacenta 10 times for a net of 15 yards. And now Johnson hands off to Clayton again. He's down to the 14, 13, 12-yard line. 30 seconds from here to Pasadena, California. 30 cotton picking seconds left on the digital scoreboard here as the roses are beginning to bloom in the Buckeye end zone. No, Michigan has plucked all 22 of those roses because they're going to take them all out to Pasadena. Wide to the right goes Max Richardson. 15, 14 seconds. Under center is Stacy Johnson. And it is Clayton deep and at fullback, King close in the I formation. There is Stacy Johnson giving to the fullback, King, and he's hit right there. That's all there is. There isn't any more. 60 minutes of the most glorious, exciting football that we've seen in a long, long time. Sure, the score was lopsided, 22-0, but I tell you, it was very enjoyable. There go the players carrying off Schembechler on their shoulders. Old man Ufer is wrapping up his 313th broadcast over the last 32 years, and I don't know whether I've ever been any happier than I am right at this moment, not unless it involves something concerning my 7 youngsters. That's right, I've got 7 youngsters. No, I'm not Catholic, just careless, but Michigan certainly was not careless here this afternoon as those comeback coronary kids on this Michigan football team of 1976 have come from the depths of despair just 14 days ago down at Lafayette, Purdue, to the heights of ecstasy here this afternoon, right here at the Ohio State Snake Pit. And at the moment, as I look around, I see the entire stadium is covered with a halo of maize and blue, 22 halos of maize and blue. All these Michigan Wolverines, they've just led the Wolverines into the promised land. No, they haven't parted any water to lead Michigan into the promised land of Pasadena, California, but they have shaved a few hairless nuts here this afternoon. That's Buckeyes to you and me, as well as tickling the fancy of over 280,000 living Michigan alums as Bo's Big Blue Machine, after a slight mechanical breakdown 2 weeks ago, is right back on track and will now lead Michigan into the coveted Rose Bowl come January 1st of 1977. Aren't those words music to your ears? Michigan, the Big Ten football champions for the 27th time in history. The Rose Bowl bid safely tucked under their belts, and now without question, Michigan has a real shot at the National Collegiate Football Championship of 1976. And that's about it. That says it all. We'll be right back, though. Stay with us with the doggondest funeral service that you've ever heard, plus a final recap of one of the most exciting and pulse-pounding second halves that Michigan has ever had. Right after this final message over this, the Michigan Championship Achieved Football Network.
Elegant.
The country heroes, hail, hail, Michigan, the champions of the world.
All the color and excitement in the Michigan locker room following their shutout of the powerful Ohio State Buckeyes by a score of 22-0. For Coach Bo Schembechler, his 4th try at winning here on the artificial turf of Ohio Stadium successful. So I know that he and his wife Millie and their 4 sons will have a lot to cheer about. And a very tough year for Bo. Open heart surgery, came back. His assistants did a great job with spring practice bud. went on to be number 1, then had an upset in West Lafayette, and now today showing that they are a powerful college football team, winning at 22-0.
Bob Ufer here at Columbus, Ohio, with one of the warmest maize and blue feelings that we've ever had, wrapping up Michigan's Big Ten championship football season of 1976. And what a grand and glorious 76 season it's been. Climaxed here this afternoon as Big Bo did it to Big Woody for the first time here in Columbus. And I don't think there's any question that this has to be one of Bo Schembechler's greatest moments as a head football coach. Bo's waited a long time to beard the lion here in his own den. His former coach, his former teacher, a man that he very much respects. And as we watched Bo move through the crowd to shake hands with Woody a few moments ago, we couldn't help but see those signs over every Michigan football office back up there in Ann Arbor. Those signs read, "What the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve, and those who stay will be champions." As far as statistics are concerned here this afternoon, you know, statistics of this particular game haven't really meant much to Michigan fans because over the past 4 years, 1972 through 1975, Michigan has had every statistic in all 4 games except the one that really counted, and that's the final score, which today was Michigan 22, Ohio State nothing. The rest of the statistics are superfluous. You can read them tomorrow. The Wolverines finished this season with 10 wins and only 1 defeat. The Big Ten championship for the 27th time in history. Ohio State has to be content with 20 Big Ten titles in football over the years right now. And while we're on facts and figures, let's follow that fickle finger of football fate to the final reading of Bo Schembechler's football scoreboard as it stands right now at the end of the regular season of 1976. Bo at Michigan has just won his 76th game against only 10 defeats. Woody Hayes over this same 8-year period has 71 wins and 13 losses. In Big Ten play, old General Bo has 55 wins, only 6 defeats. Woody right now has 54 wins and 7 losses over the same 8-year period. Bo has just won his 6th Big Ten football championship in 8 years at Michigan. And in these same 8 years, covering 89 ball games, the Wolverines under old Bo George Patton Schembechler have run up 2,721 points to the opponent's 732. That's an average score of Michigan 30, the opponent's 8. Michigan has this year run up more points in a single season of play than any other team in the history of the Big Ten. They have now a total of 426 points in an 11-game season with a bowl game yet to go. The old record was 421 set by Bo's team 5 years ago in a 12-game season in 1971. Michigan under Bo is the only coach and the only school in the country to finish in the top 10 in both the AP and the UPI polls in the final voting over the past 8 years. Only 3 schools in the Big Ten have ever defeated old General Bo in 8 years at the Michigan school. And finally, outside of that upset 2 weeks ago at Purdue, only 1 school in the country has ever defeated Bo Schembechler in his last 81 regular season games. What a record, what a team, what a coach. And how did Robert Frost Ufer see this 1976 Big Ten championship season in poetry? Well, football fans, for better or for worse, here it is. The Badgers from Wisconsin were the first to take a dive, and those Cardinals from Stanford couldn't make a touchdown drive. President Ford had come to visit and had dinner with Bo's team. His presence really spurred them toward that Rose Bowl championship dream. The Navy managed 14 points, but believe me, that was all, as Bo's Blue built a record score and really hogged the ball. Wake Forest couldn't make a move against Bo's Wolverines, and then State Spartans bit the dust like all those other teams. The Big Blue toyed with Northwestern and even let them score. But the Hoosiers and the Gophers couldn't get past Bo's front door. Then the upset of the season was pulled off by old Purdue, for when that game was over, they had beaten Bo's Big Blue. Bo and Michigan, down but not out, came back with heads held high. They defeated Illinois with a decisive win. They're champions, no one can deny. Ohio and Michigan, Woody and Bo, 22 men all psyched up to go. The Rose Bowl and championship always at stake. That day draws near. Fans breathlessly wait. 27 times Michigan has led the Big Ten. Now a chance for national fame, too. But the win over Woody's Scarlet and Gray is the year's biggest thrill for Bo's Blue. And now, one last thing. Right now, I'd like to tell you that I can't wait to get down to that locker room area to see smiling Bo and bleeding Woody after 5 years of frustration for Bo. That magnified despair of defeat that's been eating Bo Schembechler's insides out since the 72 game right here at Columbus, Ohio, has just been completely wiped away, and it couldn't happen to a greater coach or a nicer guy than old General Bo. And now, as far as Bo's counterpart, Woody Hayes, is concerned here this afternoon, I think it would be most appropriate to hold final rites for old Dr. Strange Hayes right now, right here on November 20th of 1976 in our broadcasting booth high above the western sideline in the Snake Pit at Columbus, Ohio. We have here, I just wish we were on TV. We have a beautiful little mahogany coffin. It's been specially made by a mortician up in Flint. His name is Jack DeCoux. A few of his friends got together. It has brass handles along each side. It's lined with blue satin. And lying in the coffin is the cutest little replica of Woody Hayes that you ever saw. Don Lund, our associate here in the booth all season long. Now, he has a very attractive wife. We all know that. But Betty is also clever. She made this little replica of the fat man. It has a round little tummy. He's dressed in a scarlet and gray coaching outfit. He has a whistle around his neck. He's wearing an OSU T-shirt with a little black baseball cap on his head. And on that baseball cap on the brim is a gray O. His eyes are open right now. And what do you know? They're maize and blue in color. Yes, sir, old Woody Hayes looks very serene in his beautiful little mahogany coffin here. Bob Foreman, would you, Don Lund, and Jack Lane, Bill Pertula, would you please each light one of those yellow candles that have the blue ribbons at each end of the mahogany coffin? Thank you. There it is, the flickering candles, casting maize and blue all over little Woody as he lays serenely in his coffin. And pallbearers, well, we have Bob Foreman and Don Lund, and we have Don Canham and Bill Pertula, and we have honorary pallbearers as well for old Dr. Strange Hayes here beside this magnificent coffin. The legendary Fritz Chrysler and the lovable Benny Osterbahn. Our old buddy J.P. McCarthy of WJR in Detroit is on one side, and one of the finest feature writers in the Midwest, Al Stark of the Detroit News, is also there. Oh, doesn't Woody look nice lying there in stately manner? And here come the members of the press. Why, there's Jerry Green and Jack Barry of the Detroit News. And here comes Wayne Deneff of the Ann Arbor News. And wouldn't you believe Joe Falls, who even thinks this game wasn't dull and boring in the second half, and his counterpart, Kurt Sylvester of the Detroit Free Press. And there's Doug Midline of the Flint Journal. And there's the Benton Harbor St. Joe reporters. And there's a sports writer from Hastings, another one from Ludington. Come on in. No, don't stick pins in Woody. You have to respect the little old man. There's Jack Moss from the Kalamazoo Gazette. There's a sports writer from the Upper Peninsula, Ishpeming. Al Cotton from the Jackson Citizen. There's a sports writer from Owasso. Fellas, you're all crowding around. There's Jim Buckley from the Saginaw News. Now, fellas, let's all crowd around. Please, fellas, take off your hats. And you football fans across the state of Michigan, please bow your heads as the candles flicker over Woody Hayes, because I don't want a Michigan fan to ever forget. Today, Saturday, November 20th of 1976, the day Ohio came to bury Michigan, all wrapped in maize and blue. The words were said, the prayers were read, and everybody cried. But when they closed the coffin, there was someone else inside. Oh, the Buckeyes came to bury the Wolverines, but Michigan wasn't dead. And when that game was over, it was someone else instead. 54 Michigan Wolverines put on the gloves of gray, and as Cavender played the victors, they laid Woody Hayes away. And there he is. Now, fellas, before we put the lid down on that coffin of Woody, please, Don Lund, would you please pick up that camera? And Bob Foreman, how about those first down markers? That's right. You remember your history. The old pharaohs in Egypt, when they died, they put those little goodies in the tomb underneath the pyramids, so in the hereafter they'd have something to play with. Well, old Dr. Strangehays, when he gets to football's Valhalla, he might want something to break, so let's put that camera right in there beside him. That's real nice. And let's put in those first down markers. He'll have things up there to play with and to break when the spirit moves him. And that's it. Now, I'm sorry, I'm real sorry, we do not have a bugle to play taps, but we do have George Patton's horn from all through World War II. It has been through an 11-game season. Our magic touch behind this great blue machine that has run up 426 points. And as we close the lid on Woody Hayes' coffin, let's have a final blast from the Bo George Patton scoring horn. Ah, there it is. Let's close the lid on Woody Hayes. And now, Ufer, for the first time in the last 7 minutes, let's get serious. You know, it's a funny thing in this world, but we always kid those that we respect. And there's no doubt about it that Woody Hayes has been, is, and always will be one of the great football coaches in our lifetime. And may he live a long time. Yes, sir, it was Big Michigan burying Woody here this afternoon. 19 senior pallbearers headed by All-American Rob Lytle and Calvin O'Neill. They laid the Buckeyes and Woody Hayes away here in Columbus today, just as they did up in Ann Arbor in 69 and 71. Meanwhile, what a wonderful winter it'll be in the whole state of Michigan. Yes, sir, the whole state of Michigan. And for the entire Michigan football family. I might add, for those 22 Michigan players along with the 8 Michigan coaches, including Bo, who were all born down here in the state of Ohio, they can all come back home here for Christmas smelling like roses until they taste the real thing out in Pasadena on January 1st. Well, football fans, at this point in our final broadcast, we'd like to say to you listeners, but actually it almost goes without saying, broadcasting the Michigan football games all season long, year after year, is a labor of love for old yours truly. But we do realize that we get carried away from time to time and say some real outlandish things during the heat of play-by-play. But you know something, football fans? If at any time in any broadcast I've ever said anything to offend anybody in any way, believe me, it was a slip of the tongue and not of the heart. I know I've said this every year, but this year I especially wanted to say it because I realize now that during a recent broadcast I made a very, very rash, uncalled-for statement concerning an episode in World War II, and I'm sorry I made that statement. But as I said before, it was certainly a slip of the tongue and not of the heart. I guess by now you know that Bob Ufer loves football, and I do love Michigan, and I would never intentionally say anything to hurt either one. And as Shakespeare once said, to err is human, to forgive divine. Well, we do hope that you've enjoyed these broadcasts week after week just half as much as we've all enjoyed bringing them to you. This is a very happy, contented Bob Ufer. I don't know when I've been happier. Reminding you once again that the final score, a Rose Bowl-bound Michigan 22, Wash Bowl-bound Ohio State zip. Now, on behalf of every rosy, cotton-picking, contented man here in the booth, Don Lund, Bob Foreman, Jack Lane, Bill Pratula, Jimmy Yanacek, and Chief Engineer Jerry McCarty. Without them, none of these broadcasts would have been possible. And boy, were they stately pallbearers here today. We thank you all for being with us all season long on this Michigan Football Network. Until next year, God willing, we wish you all a very maize and blue, happy, healthy, and prosperous 1977. And now, as we move out of the broadcasting booth here at the Ohio State Stadium and join the rest of the 4,000 Wolverine fans who are starting back to the grand old state of Michigan with joy in their hearts and a song on their lips, no, the song is not the victors, because that, too, is in the hearts right now of every Michigan man. But right now, the song on their lips as they head north could well be...
That's all, folks.
Take a look at the moments of triumph for the Wolverines on this day of victories for the victors. A nervous and scoreless first half, a standoff, but Bo had him ready by halftime. Opening drive of the second half, and Rick Leach begins the option play perfectly, this time with Rob Lytle. Lytle moves to near midfield, a broken play, but watch Rick Leach, a sophomore quarterback, and the savvy and the poise gets a 20-yard gain. Leach on a quick trap play up the middle, and pay dirt finally as Davis takes it in, but Woody Hayes screaming as he spotted an infraction. Illegal procedure, says Woody. It went unnoticed, but look, he did have a beat. See the left tackle? He did move just a crack before the snap, but it was 7-0 Michigan. Lytle on the next series opens again with the option perfectly. Look at this, the end around, we hadn't seen it for a couple of games, and we saw it only once this afternoon, and Jim Smith breaks the big gainer. The same play that scored the first TD scored the second. Russell Davis again, 13-0, and they go for the two-point conversion. Jerry Zuber converted, and it was 15-0. Fourth quarter, and Lytle again scoring for Michigan to make it 22-0. Lytle, all-time leading rusher. The senior finished with 165 yards today, and Bo has conquered the stigma of never being able to win the big one, the first shutout since 1964 in Ohio Stadium.
I think if we can continue to win a lot of little ones, you know, they'll always say that about you. You know, if you don't lose very often, then when you do lose, it's got to be a big one, you see. So I hate like the dickens to lose a game like the Purdue game, one which we really, you know, should have won. When I look at the other games that we have lost, we've always played top-notch teams that, you know, games that could go either way.
What kind of a night was it for you? I know a lot of people celebrated, and I understand.
Well, first of all, of course, there's a lot of excitement in Columbus. There were more Michigan people there than, you know, we really anticipated, and it was really great because I thought the Ohio State crowd and the Ohio State team conducted themselves very well, really, better than we had anticipated. But anyway, there were a lot of Michigan people there, and then, of course, there were a lot of them that met us at the airport. And on the way back to Ann Arbor, I was disappointed that we hadn't heard that they had planned a rally at Chrysler Arena. We didn't know anything about it, and so we went right back to our football building, and I guess there were a lot of people up there that we didn't get a chance to see, and they didn't get a chance to see us, and I wish that hadn't happened, but that's one of those things. But Ann Arbor was a lively town last night. I want you to know that, Larry.
I understand you heard from the president last night, too.
Yes, President Ford called me, I think it was around 7 o'clock, and he was very pleased that we won the game, and because he's gotten fairly close to the team from the time that he spent at one of our practices and at our training table and so forth. And he said he planned to work and watch the game periodically, but he soon left his work entirely and watched the game.
Got to the game, which is what we should get to, too. Super football game, you felt confident throughout, even though the first half was some kind of struggle defensively.
Well, the first half was field position. Here's Lytle running in there strong. It was a sort of a battle for field position, kicking game, and we were fortunate. I thought the key thing in the first half to keep us in the ball game was a tremendous job by Jimmy Smith in bringing back Skeldani's great punts. Their punter averaged 52 yards a kick, but we negated that punting with some great returns by Smith. Here's Russell Davis on the draw play in the second period, and although I think there were 6 possessions before we got a first down, and then on a fourth and two here, we gambled and got stopped.
Big hit by Ray Griffin.
Yes, and we didn't get him blocked. And
this guy kicked 158 yards in that first batch. He was something.
He was really knocking that ball out of there. He's the greatest punter I think we ever played against. But this is the reason that his punting didn't hurt us, because we have the greatest return man in college football, and he kept us right in the ball game throughout.
Even some of his short returns were spectacular.
That's right.
8 or 9 yards.
That's right.
Were great.
That was the key to it.
Good.
Here's a play. Here was their biggest play. I think there were 3 big plays in this drive, Larry, that took them down in there. You saw the first one. Here's the second one. We miss a couple of tackles right there, and their quarterback gets good yardage on us, and that hurt. And here's the third one where their fine tailback shot up the middle and did a good job. But this is the play, key play. They decided on 2nd and 8 to go to the pass. We blitzed Vogley, our left linebacker, who was right in the face of Pacena when he threw the ball, and Jimmy Pickens picked it off for us, and that stopped their drive.
Here comes Vogley right here.
Right here. You see that? And it's real hard to throw when you got a linebacker chasing you like that. And Pickens went up just exactly the way you'd like to have it done. Catch the ball at its highest point and intercept it. And really, that's their only threat of the day. And
the penalty flag there was going to be against Ohio State anyway.
It was against Ohio State for pushing off.
Second half, things changed a little bit.
Well, we took the ball on the kickoff. They kicked in the end zone. We had 80 yards to go, and we did it in 11 plays. We went to the pitch out a little bit more, and we thought Leach did an excellent job in running the option, and Lytle, a very strong run.
This is not an option, right?
This looks like a very deceptive play, and I'd like to take credit for a counter play here of some sort, but we missed the handoff, Larry, and your quarterback, to be a good one's got to be able to improvise in a situation like that, and Rick did a great job of getting us 20 yards and continuing our drive. Here's Russell Davis going in, standing up for the touchdown, and we kicked the extra point, and at this point we led 7-0. This is our next drive. Leach again executing the option very well, and Lytle running hard as he does all the time. And here's the big reverse. We hadn't run this play all year, although we practiced it all the time, and my coaches always made fun of me, and I'd say, well, I'll run it this game, and we never had an occasion to run it, so that was an important occasion to run the play, because that was, in my opinion, that was a key play that took us down to our second touchdown.
Has all the look of your normal option going right.
That's right.
Only there goes Jimmy left.
Only Smith comes underneath.
You almost didn't run this play, right?
Right. There was a debate, and we had some time between the plays, and Jerry Hanlon called the play. I didn't call it. As a matter of fact, I questioned him thoroughly on whether we ought to do it, and then we finally did it. There's a very strong touchdown run by Russell Davis for a second touchdown, and now we lead 13-0. And then we decided to go for the two-point play. As you know, in this game, Larry, we could not settle for a tie. A tie was to the benefit of Ohio State. They'd have been outright champions of the conference and gone to the Rose Bowl. And we decided before the game, our first touchdown, we'd kick it. Our second touchdown, we'd fake it and go for two. And then from then on, we had two-point plays, regular plays that we were going to use.
Greg Morton got through, played a great game.
I thought our defensive tackles were sensational. Morton and Hennessy were very dominant in the game. I thought young Tom Sebron did a great job in there with John Anderson out of the game. And this kind of pressure makes it difficult, very difficult to throw the ball. In this case, Pacena did a super job in getting the ball out to Logan for just short of a first down.
Good hit kept that from being a first down.
That's right, but then they got it on the next play. They were in motion here, and he threw the ball out, and Logan dropped it. Graves recovered for Michigan, and at that point, we were really in command now.
Good interception.
We were down in there, yes, that's a good interception. We were down in there close with a third down situation, and we went to the pass, and maybe that was bad strategy. Probably should have kept the ball on the ground and gone for the field goal. But fortunately, they threw the ball, and Ufer intercepted for us. We're down at the 11-yard line, and that interception, I think, sealed their doom, really.
Those were consecutive plays and put you right back into the drive you had going.
Right, so we immediately go to Lytle, who runs hard down inside the 5, and come right back with him again, and he goes in to score. And we kick the extra point, 22-0, and I think at this time we're smelling roses.
Very much so. And you did it all without completing a pass. People have said that that couldn't be done.
Well, I think one of the things, there's a misconception there in the fact that we didn't complete a pass, and that is this. We felt that the Ohio State defense, and I think Woody admitted to it, that they were very much concerned about the pass, and they were constantly waiting for the pass, and we were pitching the ball out. I think at all times they wanted someone short and someone deep on Jimmy Smith. And that's not bad strategy, but I think it does help our running game if you do that. If you put more than one defender on Smith, I think it helps our running game a lot.
If they had changed defensively, would you have thrown then?
Yes,
Yeah.
because we did the first half, as you know. And although not effectively, the incomplete passes can still scare you when you have a receiver the caliber of Smith going down there, and that we've hit so many already this year.
And yet I think there's no way you could characterize your play Saturday as being conservative. You had a quick huddle that you ran on them, or with no huddle play. That,
no huddle play, right.
Well,
we had anticipated doing that. We were going to do more of it, but we didn't. And but you understand, the reverse is not really, I mean, I wouldn't, look at that as something really fancy. I mean, it's something you got to have in your offense, and we just hadn't used it this year. And we had used it from a close wing back, but not when we had him split out wide. And then the two-point play was a fundamental thing as far as we were concerned, because we could not settle for a tie, so we put it in this week, really, off of the extra point. And then we had another two-point play that we would have used later on, but we didn't get a chance to use it.
Didn't need it, as it turned out. Were there that many mistakes at all as you look back in the game?
I thought we made quite a few mistakes in the first half offensively. I don't think that I think we could have moved the ball in the first half the way we did in the second had we executed better. And when we talked at halftime, that's all we really talked about. But I do think the important thing in the victory was the job that our defense did from beginning to end, because we didn't get in any trouble the first half, even though our offense was not really as effective as it could have been. And I think that's a credit to our defense, and I thought our defensive coaches, Coach Moeller and his gang, really did a tremendous job.
Although there are some 85,000 seats in Ohio State Stadium in Columbus, only 4,000 tickets were made available to Michigan followers, which made it a little tough for the other 96,000 that usually show up on Saturdays to follow the Wolverines. Those left behind had to find a way to enjoy the game, and thanks to ABC television and places like Dooley's, they were able to do that, provided they were 18 years of age. Dooley's featured food and drink, plus big screen coverage of all the action from Columbus, and the faithful gathered in comfort, confident of victory.
Nobody's better than we are. Not Pitt, not Ohio State. We're the best. We're number one.
With a running back like Rob Lytle, the Wolverines have a diversified attack, passing and running. They can go inside, they can go outside, they can go all over Ohio State, and that's what they're going to do. Woody Hayes is going to get what he's finally been deserving for so many years. He's going to get really whipped by Michigan.
Michigan all the way, 45-0. Easy victory. They're going to the Rose Bowl this year.
There was noise all day, nervous noise at first, but jubilant noise in the end when the game finished 22-0 Michigan.
Ohio State is second-rate. Michigan is number one, no doubt about it. 22-0. Go, Blue!
Not content with a small indoor celebration, the crowd spilled out into the street, joining thousands of other fans and turning Ann Arbor into one large party.
Number one! Number one! Woo! We're number one! We're number one!
You missed all of that,
I hope no one got hurt. That's a big thing.
But back in Columbus, you had your moment in the locker room. Did you get a chance to privately talk to the team?
Well, not as much as I'd like, but we meet tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock, but we did have a little, but by the time we got in, there were already television cameras and everything in there, and I guess I gave the okay because they were already in there. But anyway, it was a great celebration in the locker room, and I'm tremendously proud of this team and the things that it's accomplished. The coaching staff has been absolutely tremendous, and of all the teams that I've had, I think I've enjoyed this one the most. I think they've just done more than we could possibly have asked, and it's been fun coaching them. Really looking forward to taking them to California.
It was a moment to savor for a lot of people, guys like Kirk Lewis, who came back for an extra year, had a lot of injuries, and still got the great satisfaction of this. Jimmy Smith sat there for, I'll bet, 15 minutes without taking off a single pad, just holding his rose and sitting there.
Well, Jimmy's an emotional guy and a great competitor. He was really ready for this game, as all of them were. But this senior group has been really sensational in every respect. They've played great football, and they've given us, great leadership. You have to have that, and we've gotten it. But it's been a fun team to coach.
In one of your post-game interviews, you said this would have to go down as one of Michigan's great moments, but they probably, you and the players, wouldn't feel the full impact of it until the team got back to Ann Arbor, back where all the fans were.
Yeah, we had to get back with our friends, and once we got back, I think the excitement really got to us because I've never seen so much jubilation in the bus coming from the airport to Ann Arbor, and they were all anxious to get back, and it was just a great thing. You know, that's what college football is all about. Now, a lot of people can say it's overemphasized and that we're carrying it too far, but when you see what it does to a group of youngsters like we had down at Columbus, and then when we come back and see all the enthusiasm on our campus, it really makes you feel good because college spirit is not dead.
Who always has something to say about a Michigan victory.
I don't know. I didn't check his ticket. I don't know how he got on that plane.
When they landed at Metro Airport, there were the fans again, waiting to cheer their heroes.
Biggest victory ever for you?
Best ever. I've been here for 5 years. Hey, it's fantastic. I'm happy.
All the frustrations of outplaying them in other years and not winning, taken care of today?
Oh, geez, it's the greatest victory we've had, I'll tell you. Sorry we had to wait for 3 years for it, but it's well worth it.
You had a super effort today, Rob.
Well, I don't know. Our whole team had a super effort. It was a team effort today, and God, everybody deserves it, I'll tell you.
And defensively, Calvin, the defense did things that just shut them down. That team hadn't been blanked in 123 games.
That's true. I tell you, we had a fantastic job today by our defensive line. And because I know because I'm a linebacker, and a lot of plays never even got to me because they did such a great job.
What now? Day off?
Couple of days off, back to the weight room, workout, then to the Rose Bowl.
All right. Congratulations to the both of you, to all your team.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
The season not over for the Michigan team, the season not over for this program either. We have one show remaining. We have Southern Cal to talk about, the Rose Bowl to talk about, a couple of other surprises too, but for now, it's champagne on this tie. Don't you think that'd be appropriate?
I think I'm ready.
All right.
Senior Rob Lytle, who broke all the career rushing records at Michigan, was named the team's most valuable player. Some of the others on hand tonight included sophomore quarterback Rick Leach, running back Harlan Huckabee, who's expected to completely fill Lytle's shoes next season, along with running back Russell Davis, a great man, former Michigan coach and athletic director Fritz Kreisler, and Coach Bo Schembechler.
Well, Tony's been doing a great job for, I think it's 4 years now. He's done an excellent job of running, and he's a great back, and he's very, very deserving of the award.
But it isn't for 4 years, Rob. It's year by year. Now, you had, I think, a better year, considering the amount of yardage you gained per carry.
Well, that's a nice compliment, and I thank you for it, but Tony is, the race was decided last year during the summer. It was going to be a two-man race, and I like to look at our offense as our team as being not solely on an individual basis, and I think, if we keep it that way, you're going to win more games that way. So,
but as far as Rob Lytle's pro career is concerned, it would help in your contract negotiation to have Heisman Trophy winner after, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know about that because I've never really been involved in anything with the pros, so I really couldn't tell you.
You will be. Rob, if I were to pick you to win by 35 points over USC, would you say I was crazy?
No, I wouldn't say you're crazy because we're going to give it our best to do that, too.
That's Michigan Rob Lytle. Tonight at 11 o'clock, Michigan's Bo Schembechler will be talking to him about choking for the big one, Southern Cal, coming up in the Rose Bowl. But because we know Bo relishes some good give and take, we pursued his choking on the really big one coming up, the Rose Bowl game, as evidenced by this exchange at last night's Michigan football bust.
Can you really not choke and win the big one?
No, I don't think there's a possibility I could win the big one. Just a lot of little ones. I like to win a lot of little ones, and then you're all right.
Well, with the team you had, would you say that game against Purdue, and you gave me this question, was the worst job of coaching you can recall?
Oh, I would say that would certainly rank.
Rank with what?
With some of the worst coaching jobs, so I would say that would rank.
How come you're such a good mood and mellowed? Where did you learn this technique, Bo? Come on, you used to be easy to get to.
I know, but see, I'm worried about you because you haven't been on me lately.
Bo, why did you say I'm absolutely asinine in picking? Every week I picked you to win by 35. You know, that wasn't a bad bet. I don't want to use that word indiscriminately.
35 is a lot, though. You know, you can run into a lot of situations.
You beat a lot of people by 35 or more points, Bo.
Well, yes, by 30, anyway.
Yeah.
Should have won that last one by that, don't you think, Al?
Look like a hero.
9.
What the hell is that shit?
I tell you, they have no humor.
No.
There is Davis down to the 5. There it is. It is a touchdown. Oh, Russell Davis. Oh, God bless your cotton-picking, maize-and-blue heart from all the way down in Virginia. And he has 2 points. He has 2 points. Oh, Bo Schembechler. Joe Falls, who says he plays dull and boring football? We got to get Joe Falls. He's bored to death up here reading Dale Carnegie's book on how to win friends and influence people. Michigan leading in the ball game 15-0. Oh, Michigan won 10 years ago 17-3, and now they lead 15-0. And of course, we're very impartial as usual. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Ricky Leach asks for the crowd to settle down as he hands off to Rob Lytle, and it is! There it is! Oh, Rob Lytle picks up touchdown number 28 on his career. That's all there is. There isn't any more. 60 minutes of the most glorious, exciting football that we've seen in a long, long time. And at the moment, as I look around, I see the entire stadium is covered with a halo of maize and blue.
Thank you and goodbye.